Good evening. It is Wednesday, November 29th, 2023, and coming to you from the Lonely Tree Media headquarters in Tacoma, Washington. This is the Best Lamb Sports Show.
Trips at the bottom. Bo Nix rolling to his right. Now he's got time to throw. Across his body. It dangles in the air to Franklin. Touchdown, Oregon. Time.
That was Bo Nix to
Troy Franklin.
Troy Franklin. Thanks to Fox College Football for that. But that put Oregon ahead at the half. 21-7. It was a huge play in the Civil War. I mean, it was a momentum swing because Oregon State had just scored to make it 14-7, and then this happened. But what a play. So I'm your host, David Lamm. With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker. Do these people ever go home?
They're always here. It's really, it's kind of annoying. We don't have enough room for them.
The gift shop has been sold out for years.
I know.
What are you waiting for?
I don't even know. They're like, you guys got anything? No, not anymore. So college football, we're going to talk about the NBA a little bit. We're going to talk about college football. We're going to talk about the NFL. Those are the three things we're mainly going to cover. There's other sports going on, and I'd love to be able to cover them, but we just don't have the time. It is just too busy. So we got way too much.
Which we like.
Which we do. We like having a lot of sports going on. So I'm getting a visitor. So he's just gonna want back out again. Okay. Like one of the cats is trying to
Sounds about right.
Trying to come into
a different kind of technical difficulty.
Difficult, yeah, it's a little bit different, but anyway. So, all right. So we're going to talk about those three things. We're going to have the trivia question as usual. And let's start. You know what? We're going to start with NBA stuff.
Okay.
Because we're not really talking really about the NBA, although we kind of are. Mark Cuban is trying to sell a majority of the Dallas Mavericks.
Right.
He bought in 2000. He bought the Dallas Mavericks for $285 million from Ross Perot Jr., by the way. And now he's selling it to Miriam Adelson, whose husband Sheldon founded the Las Vegas Sands Corporation. They still run the Las Vegas Sands Corporation, but they used to own the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas. They got rid of their American holdings. Now they own a bunch of stuff in Macau and Singapore. But also one of the largest GOP donors in the United States. Just FYI. And so that's why you're going to see this picture of, and I didn't share my screen with you, so I really need to, but that's why you're going to see this picture of President Trump putting a Medal of Freedom probably around her neck because she donates a lot of money to them. Not because she did anything great, but because she donates a lot of money. Because you can buy those things. I'm not saying that's a thing, but that's the thing. But anyway, the value of the Mavs is $3.5 billion. So if you had $285 million back in 2000 and were willing to invest it for 23 years, the return is what? 412. Yeah, about 14 times. So that's a pretty good profit. I don't think he's not selling the whole thing, so he's not selling all 3.5 billion, but he's selling probably what we're guessing is around 50 something percent of the club. He's going to remain as the it's not CEO. They use a different term for it.
President of operations or something like that.
Yeah, the governor. That's what they called it. Governor, the governor. So he'll be on the NBA board of governors. All this has to be approved by the NBA. But it's a big deal. I mean, this is a big shakeup. We're used to seeing Mark Cuban on the sideline being very, what's the word I'm looking for? Dramatic.
A fan?
Yeah, he's a fan. He's a basketball fan.
He's being a fan.
He is. I mean,
he is no more dramatic than anyone else, except when he gets dramatic, he can actually talk to people about it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, he actually is more animated than most owners. You know what I mean?
Without a doubt.
Without a
Most
doubt.
owners are the age of Miriam here. You'd be lucky if
Right.
you could get up with any haste.
Yeah, the most owners you see on TV, when you see them, they're like Jerry Jones, sitting in a box, smile occasionally.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It's Ballmer.
Palmer, yeah.
He's the most excited one of all of them.
Yeah.
He gets really jazzed. And then Cuban's right up there. Former Blazers owner, what was his name? Allen. Paul
Yeah,
Allen
Paul
was
Allen.
he was pretty
He was okay.
excitable,
Yeah.
but it was very tame. It was very proper, but he like clapped at the right times. He was never caught not paying attention.
He was a good knowledgeable fan. He knew when to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, he wasn't yelling at
Cuban
things
does.
I've seen Cuban yell at
Yeah.
fouls that were definitely
Oh, yeah.
fouls.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely excited.
He's a homer.
basketball fan. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna like that in my owner, right? I want my owner to be involved. Let's call it that. But yeah, so I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if it's a big deal, but it's a big deal. I mean, it's a major shift in who owns the Dallas Mavericks. But anyway, Dallas Mavericks not in the NBA play-in tournament, by the way, or the NBA in-season. What do you call it? In-season tournament.
In-season tournament.
Yeah, not in the knockout round. So what do you think now that we're in the playoffs, in the play-in, and not in the play-in, the knockout round, the semifinals? What do you want to call it? Quarterfinals.
Mhm.
Are you more interested, or is it the same?
I was listening to the radio yesterday, and these guys on a local talk show here in Denver were talking about the Nuggets were running a promotion that was buy one ticket, get 2 tickets free.
What?
To an in-season tournament game.
Oh man, I'd go to that.
Sure, that's how much that nobody's giving
Nobody
a
cares.
crap
Yeah.
about the in-season tournament. It's still a regular season game,
Right.
and it's still in the middle on a Tuesday. Like who cares?
I was just
Oh, you put a different court down and wore some different jerseys. That's not making me want to go to it.
and I was just gonna say that the quarterfinals are Monday and Tuesday, 4th and the 5th.
And see that's and so that was another thing they brought up. They proposed the idea, and I really liked it, which is let's cut the season down to 62 games. So drop 20 games out of the season, and in January after the Christmas lull, you have an in-season tournament. That is the only thing that's going on at that time. And they don't count towards playoff standings or anything like that, but it's just a tournament. It has a little trophy, kind of like a midway point celebration type thing, but it's its own thing because the fact of the matter is I have a watch team on Tuesday playing an in-season tournament that counts as a regular season game and a tournament game. Then I have to watch them play Saturday in a game that counts as a regular season game, but not as a tournament game. And I have to keep track of this week to week.
Right.
What's happening there? Because some weeks they play Tuesday, Saturday, or some weeks they play Friday, Sunday. Like it changes up. So
right.
It's too convoluted and it's unnecessary and it's not selling the tickets. The players seem to really like it.
Well, I mean,
but that's it. But they're probably being financially motivated.
We'll know more after it happens and after the season if they do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
if they do it again without big tweaks, you'll know that it worked. It did its job.
Whatever they were trying to do, which is, I guess, sell more tickets or generate more interest. I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be the only reason.
Viewership was up or something, yeah. But if they make big tweaks or cancel it, then you'll know that it did not work.
So your West semifinals are – the West had 3 groups and the East had 3 groups, and there's 1 wild card. So let's just let everybody know that. So the West group winners, the Lakers, the Kings, and the Pelicans. So the Lakers are going to play the Suns, who are the wild card team. That's actually going to be a pretty good basketball game, but it's still just a regular season basketball game, right?
Just a regular season game, right?
Which is weird, right? Because you didn't know these 2 teams were going to play here. You didn't know who was going to be in it. But now this game is part of the regular season. So I don't understand how they're doing that, but they're doing that. Seems weird because the Lakers and Suns are going to play. We're scheduled to play regardless, right? I don't know how they're doing the scheduling. Kings and Pelicans will be the other game. Kings and Pelicans on Monday, 7 p.m. TNT. The Lakers Suns Tuesday, 7 p.m. on TNT. The Eastern Conference, the Bucks are the number 1 seed. The Pacers and Celtics are the other group winners. The Knicks, the New York Knicks, are the wild card team, which is a little surprising. The Bucks and the Knicks play on Tuesday, 4:30 on TNT. The Pacers Celtics play Monday, 4:30 on TNT.
Did you watch last night's Warriors Sacramento game at all?
Some. I watched.
It was kind of exciting at times, but that was another thing. They come on the air to start the game, or I guess another game wrapped up like early in the first quarter, and they said, well, with the win over here, the Warriors now have to win by at least 12
Right.
to advance. And I'm over here like, what?
Yeah. So that's an interesting.
How you win is now a caveat? Like, that's ridiculous.
That's now an interesting aspect of this whole thing is that people betting on these things.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, gambling's pushing everything.
Right. So you're betting on this game as, let's say the Warriors or let's say the Sacramento's a favorite, like they're a 3-point favorite, but the Warriors need to win by 12. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do I bet? Because now there's a driving force for the Warriors to maybe do something. It's different. You know what I mean? It's better, different than a regular season game. There is no driving force for you to try it. So the Golden State Warriors, even if they didn't win by 12, if they just win the game, okay, that's changing the way this game is bet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's changing who's the favorite, really. Because there's a motivation for the Warriors, but not necessarily Sacramento, in that game. Which is weird to me. It's hard.
It's just strange. But even if the gambling's out of it, like even if you're just thinking like, well, we can't win by 11 because then we still lose.
Right.
What the hell is that? Like, why is that a pressure on players? It's win or don't win. That's been the routine for sports, except soccer, forever.
And wouldn't that be the except soccer? Yeah.
Except soccer.
Yes, ties okay.
The NFL has ties too, but just in the regular season,
not very often
when it
anymore.
Matters.
Not very often anymore.
Yeah, that's rare. Like there's like 1 or 2 a year tops.
So isn't that a weird way to go? I mean, I don't know. It's weird to go about this the way they're going about this with the group play and the whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's gonna get tweaked if it stays next year because I don't think it. Well, I mean, like, are you expecting Steve Kerr to give a halftime adjustment and say, all right, guys, we're doing great out there. I like what we're doing here. I like what we're doing there. Here's the deal: we have to win by 12.
Right. Yeah, I don't think
like
he's saying that.
Get out of here. No, we have to win because it's a regular season game
to
count towards the standings at the end. Because at the end of the day, we still get to play 82 games
if we win
with or without the tournament.
Don't break your neck trying to win this game.
As a matter of fact, if these other teams, the good teams, are playing in this in-season tournament, like the next tier.
Did you use your air quotes? The good teams?
Yeah, you heard it. You heard the emphasis, the good team. Do you just get, because like your schedule slightly shifts around a little bit because teams are now unavailable that were available.
Right.
But do you get worse teams now? Is it better to miss the in-season tournament?
I mean,
from a winning standpoint, I don't know.
Right.
It's because if you no longer have to play the Lakers and the Pelicans and whoever, you now get to play Houston.
I just don't understand how they're doing this. The group stages, I get it. You play everybody in your group, right?
Sure.
And so you understand those are part of the regular season, and you factored those in. But you don't know who's going to win the group and who's going to be the wild card, so you can't possibly know that the Lakers and Suns are going to play. There's no way.
There are soccer fans out there who completely grasp the format because they've been used to like group play and things like that for years.
I understand how it works.
I know, but like in those, there are soccer games where it's like, hey, you need 2 goals to advance. But you can't have one, even if you win.
Yeah, but the soccer doesn't. None of those games count as regular season games. Those are all different.
Right. That's not what I'm
getting at.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is, how did you know the Lakers and Suns were going to play this game? So how do you factor that into the regular season when they're only supposed to play 3 times, 4 times, whatever it is? This game was not factored into that.
I think you can play them more, or it replaces them at certain times.
It's weird, right? Because if that ends up being a substitute for another game.
Well, here's the deal. Let's go look at the Lakers schedule. Because if you click on their schedule, it might just tell you who they're playing and when.
Sure. But I don't know how it would, because you didn't know who they're going to play in the next round if they win. You have no idea.
It doesn't list the next round.
So how do you know?
Some other game will get tweaked or moved or changed or rescheduled or something like that.
I guess that's my question: is if you have.
But also, it can't really matter that much, right? Not unless you play a team too many times.
That's my problem: is you have an 82 game schedule, and all of a sudden you're going to play the Sacramento Kings 6 times this year because they're in your group and they win the wild card, and you got to play them again. All of a sudden, instead of 4, you're playing them 6 times. That's different. That affects the outcome of the season, does it not? I mean, it has to.
Kind of, yeah, a little
Or are you
bit.
just going to get rid
The
of those?
question is, does it affect the outcome in any more major way than if you just played the regular
But
games?
do you just get rid of those other games so they still only play 4 times? They get rid of the other 2 games, and these are the games. I mean, I don't know. It's weird to me. It's just weird. I
Yeah.
don't.
So right
Have
now, the Lakers and the Suns are going to play, and then on December 7th
Right.
is the next tier of the game. I don't know how
That's the
exactly you
semifinals.
tier. That's the semifinals, December 7th.
Right.
So who's currently scheduled for the Lakers on December 7th at the moment?
Nobody. Well, I mean, they
The
can't.
answer, no, the answer is nobody.
Right.
So this will all be wrapped up before the Lakers play their next game.
Right. So there's a
Next regular season game, quote unquote. Some of
Right.
these are regular season, but I think what they'll just do is they'll drop teams off from later. So if the Lakers play the Suns now, they'll yank one of their games down the stretch.
So what about one of those group teams who didn't make it out? You didn't? Are you?
Yeah,
you are
I
you?
don't know.
Yeah, right. It's just to me. It's
Somebody smarter than both of us
yeah, for sure.
thought of a way that this works, but it's just not been explained very well, and it's a little
weird. It's weird.
It's a little strange.
It's a little strange. Hey, so speaking of Warriors Kings, who played last night, Warriors are up 107-98 on Sacramento. About 9 minutes, a little over 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. When this happened, and I want to get your take on it. You're not going to be able to see it.
No, that's fine. I've watched it.
You can hear it though.
Oh yeah.
So here's what happened in the run of play.
And this is what you're going to get. Every call is contested. A lot of intensity.
Oh, and now Green is hit with a technical.
So Draymond Green, there's a foul on Steph Curry, on Malik Monk, for just a body. I mean, he put a body on him. It's a foul. I mean, I don't. You know, there's no. The call is right. And then Draymond Green says, "Oh well, he's carrying the ball," and he demonstratively shows the carrying motion, like over and over and over again, right? And then the referee,
looking at the ref saying that's a carry, right?
And then the referee tees him up.
Sure.
Basically for dissent, as you'd say in soccer. So this is a product of Draymond being Draymond. I mean, and the tees are coming fast and furious, right? Because of who he is and not necessarily what he does. This motion was, I mean, the carrying motion to show, hey, you know, just to keep doing it and look at the referee and say that's a carry. It was unnecessary. I mean, if you're going to argue that that's a carry, then every possession needs to be argued that that's a carry because everyone carries on every possession. Let's be honest, right? In the NBA, that's a thing. But he didn't want the foul on Steph Curry. He's trying to protect his teammate. I get it. It's just that if Steph Curry argues this call, there's no technical foul.
Right.
If Draymond argues this call, it's a technical foul because of who you are. And that's probably he shouldn't be getting those. I mean, based on who he is, but he set himself up for that because of his past behavior. Your feelings, should this have been a technical foul?
You're showing up the ref.
Yes.
You're telling him how to do his job.
Yes.
I could see why a ref would give you a tech.
Right.
Especially given who you are. However, it's an institutional failure for you to carry your opinions of Draymond from game into game.
It is.
That is a bad official.
Yes.
You should come in clean slate, everyone's equal terms. DeMarcus Cousins got kicked out of more games for doing so little crap, for doing nothing stuff that other people did because of who he was, because the referees are not held adequately accountable.
He's the new Boogie. I mean, he's
yeah, I mean, they kind of existed side by side, but yeah, he's the guy who's replaced those techs
Boogie
week
and
in, week
Sheed,
out.
Right? Rasheed Wallace.
Yeah, Rasheed. Yeah, Boogie replaced Sheed. Big Baby Davis and Boogie were kind of at the same time, but so the problem is that was it a carry?
I mean,
does he have an argument?
Yes.
And what is the NBA going to do to the official who got offended for being called out?
Nothing.
All right. So it's fine if you want to be offended and tee him up, display your power while he's trying to show you up. It's just a pissing contest between two people is all that moment is.
Right.
He's saying you need to make the right call. You're saying you don't tell me how to do my job. And then you just start screaming at each other, but one guy has a whistle and can kick you out.
Right.
So,
and that's right.
So that's
sure.
where it ends. But so I think there's layers to this. Draymond needs to chill out a little bit, but also the reason you pay a guy like Draymond and have a guy like Draymond is because he has no other mode than go.
Yeah, it's true. He's the reason.
That's what makes him valuable
and
a liability.
That is why you want him on your team.
And that's why you deal with the tech. That's why you deal with the occasional ejection, because it's a motivator.
He's 100% all the time. Whether it's arguing about that or whether it's just going and fouling hard because that's what you're paying him to do. He's the enforcer on the team.
And he displays it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like LeBron James is pretty 100% all the time. I do think he takes plays off now in his older age. Like, he has these moments where he's not hustling as much, but I feel like his mindset is 100% all the time, but it doesn't show quite that way.
Well,
there's these bursts of like energy, but it's still there. Draymond wears high energy on his face all the time.
He does.
And it just, I feel like for a lot of people, it just gets under. It's the same thing as Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook did the same thing. He wears high energy on his face, and it rubs people the wrong way, officials included.
Two statements here for you. These are my two statements. You ready?
Yeah.
I don't like Draymond Green. Statement number two, I would like him on my team. I mean, that's right.
Yeah, those two things are allowed to exist at the same time.
I think so, because I would absolutely want that guy. It doesn't have to be Draymond Green, but a guy like that.
He's a leader. He's a veteran. He's good at what he does
because he's passionate about what he's doing and the team. And
guys like that drive a locker room.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't like him as a person, the things he says, and I know, I get it. But as a player, I want that player on my team. Absolutely.
Actually, I don't like his his court persona, but he is one of those guys you don't really hear much about off the court.
That's true.
Despite as fiery as he is on the court, he's not in bar fights or brawls or getting accused of, bad things. None of that's happening.
Right.
Like all of the fire that you're seeing is in front of the camera.
It's true.
It's very upfront. So I can easily see why people are like, man, that he's a pest. He's a menace. I don't like him, that sort of stuff. But yeah, for sure. You want that guy in your locker room because he's a motivator. He's a leader, and he's a spark for any team.
All right. We spent way too much time in the NBA, more than I wanted to, but that's all right.
Well, it's because we start talking.
It's good.
Ins and outs of the in-season tournament.
Well, the in-season tournament is a joke. Let's be honest.
It is.
But the Draymond thing is super. It's a prevalent situation in the NBA. It's not just Draymond. Other people get that same treatment, not necessarily like Draymond.
There's not that many.
No,
though,
but it happens.
But he's also a victim of success. He's been on a team that's won.
He's
4
high
titles.
profile. That's the problem.
Yeah,
he's high profile,
and he's been this way the whole time.
Yeah.
He's never changed.
And let's admit it, officials at any level, at any sport, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, they don't like being shown up. No. It's just, and I understand the other argument from the other side, which is we're not paying to see you referee. I get it. But you also, as a player, have an obligation to restrain yourself a little in what you say to the referee, because the referee holds all the power. You have to understand that. When you go into it, is that he can give you a technical, he can throw you out of the game. There are things he can do if you're just going to be an ass about it, which sometimes they just are. I mean, sometimes you're legit and you've got an argument. I get it, but the demonstrative nature that Draymond shows
it isn't even
over the top.
This one is not even that bad.
It's like not,
LeBron James falling to the ground, looking for a foul, getting up, throwing his hands in the air and screaming and shaking.
That should be a technical
He's
foul.
10 times more demonstrative than what Draymond did, walking away from the ref to start and then turning and looking at him.
If Draymond,
it was a soft tech, but it was a tech. Like,
Draymond,
I can get behind it being a technical.
If Draymond was the all-time NBA leading scorer, he wouldn't get that foul. Wouldn't get that technical foul.
Which is exactly the problem.
Right. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's an institutional failure that ends up targeting people for good and bad reasons. So.
I agree. All right. Let's move to the NFL because we spent way too much time on the NBA.
That was perfect.
We're gonna zip through the NFL, but that's okay. NFL scores from this weekend, by the way. If you watched on Thanksgiving Day, the Packers 29-22 over the Lions. I was not expecting that. I still think the Lions.
No one was.
I still think the Lions are good. They just find a way to lose weird games, and Jared Goff has been turning the ball over at a freaking fantastic rate.
Yeah, his team is having to help him out, and when they don't, right. I mean, they haven't lost a lot of games, so it's not like I can say it happened. But when they don't, they lose.
Jordan Love ties his career high with 3 touchdown passes in this game. If you watched also on Thanksgiving Day, the Niners 31, the Seahawks 13. Christian McCaffrey's big first half is the difference. And Christian McCaffrey's always the difference. Although I do like the green Seahawk uniforms. I do. I don't know why.
You like them? There's a lot of people that really don't.
It's a color that isn't anywhere else in the NFL.
No, it's a Seattle color.
Right. And I like it.
It's kind of tied
with the
to
navy
other
blue.
I
like
it.
Yeah. I do. I don't know. It's not the best thing I've ever seen, but it's not terrible. Christian McCaffrey, 19 carries, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brock Purdy, 209 yards, a touchdown, interception. He's still good enough to win. But the Seahawks now 6-5 and are struggling playoff wise. They're going to be down in that wild card range.
Yeah.
Clearly 2 games behind the Niners. And the Niners, when they're healthy, look like the best team in football. We're going to see a lot more because the Niners play the Eagles this weekend, and I think that game is going to be amazing. I would put my money. The Niners are 2.5-point favorites.
I don't know how the Eagles are getting all these home games, like all of the good teams they play at home.
It just happens. Next year,
they got
won't
the
be.
Bills and the Niners in back-to-back weeks at home. You're not
home.
going on the road for either of those?
Well, I think the Niners are still, when they're healthy, the best team in the NFC. And maybe the best team in football.
They appear to be. When they're on, they are unstoppable.
Yeah,
I have seen the Eagles not be on all season. I've seen them eke out a lot of games.
Chargers lost to the Ravens 20-10. The Ravens are good. They're 9-3. Their defense was amazing. They just frustrated the Chargers, but the Chargers offense is exactly what you think it is. It's Keenan Allen right now because there's no Williams. There's always someone hurt, right? So they're never at full speed. I don't know what to make of the Chargers. 4-7. Clearly, they're struggling. They would need to go with they played 11 games. They got 6 games left. They would need to go 5-1 probably to have a shot at making the playoffs. And I don't think that's possible. I just don't.
It seems unlikely.
Yeah, and so when is Brandon Staley going to get fired? That's the question, right? We've been talking about that. At some point in time, that has to happen. What'd you think of the blue, the navy blue, the throwback, the 90s throwback? I guess
they called it a 90s, but I mean, I saw the Chargers wearing that in like 2010.
Yeah, but the first time they came out with it was like in 1990.
It's cool. It's not my favorite. I like the royal blue.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. The royal blue and powder blue combo they do because they switch back and forth between them. Right. I think the royal blue and yellow is my favorite, followed by the white is my next favorite, and then the powder blue. But the royal blue is not bad, or the dark blue is not bad.
Justin Herbert, 217 yards, a touchdown, interception. The interception wasn't really his. I mean, it was at the end of the half.
It was a halftime.
Yeah, he just heaved it up towards the end.
They got to make different columns. The problem is, so I want to call them for Hail Mary interceptions.
Right. It's different.
And I want to call them for tipped ball interceptions. But the problem with tipped ball interceptions is it can happen either off your receiver, it can happen at the line. There's a lot of times that could happen, and I don't know, because the interception still goes to the defense the same way.
Right.
But the quarterback shouldn't shoulder the responsibility for the fact that their receiver has hands of stone and it pops through their hands, off their helmet, up into the air, and then somebody else grabs it. I think it's unfair. And again, if you're throwing the ball at halftime to try and just get anything before the half, that's a throwaway. It's a punt.
It is. Yeah.
Let's put an extra column in there. Let's call it a throwaway INT.
So your Denver Broncos 29-12 over the Browns. The Browns are now 7-4. The Broncos 6-5, by the way. So the Broncos have played. So here's the problem for the Broncos. They played 7 home games already, which means they're 2-2 on the road, 4-3 at home, which means there's a bunch more road games coming in the second half of the season.
You're hitting the road. That's
it's going to be tough. But they're playing great defense. They gave up 2 field goals and a touchdown and a failed 2-point conversion to get to 12. But after that, because it was 14-0 Denver,
Right.
and then it was 14-12 all of a sudden. Started third quarter, midway through third
Right.
quarter, and then it was all Denver after that.
Midway through.
Their defense was
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, their defense is playing lights out. Now, this is Dorian Thompson-Robinson for the Cleveland. It is a rookie quarterback. Well, it's not rookie, but he's a rookie. Is he?
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie
It's his
quarterback.
first year.
It's a rookie quarterback. So there's that. Although Joe Flacco now I think is number 2.
No.
Isn't
Hold
it-
on now.
Isn't it
Dorian
Joe
Thompson-Robinson got knocked out with a concussion.
Right.
So right now, since he's not cleared protocol, there's another guy who's listed as one, whoever
Sure.
came in after him, and Joe Flacco's listed as the 2 behind him. But I'm fully expecting if DTR doesn't go this weekend, Joe Flacco's going to
It's
start.
Joe Flacco. I would
Yeah.
definitely put him in. Joe Flacco does nothing but win. He's a good quarterback.
He is what Russ is now, but he did it for a
Right.
long time. He's just
Yeah.
a great game manager, just keeping things alive.
Right. And
But
yeah,
this,
that's really all you have to do with Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland's a good defensive football team. They should
Sure.
be in most games. But the Broncos just look better. They look those first 2 or 3 games, they look nah, and now they just look like they figured it out.
I just would like to see a little more consistent,
Well,
like, efficiency from the offense. I can't really be mad because they got in the last 5 games. I mean, they won a game 19-17 against the Packers, but then they had 24, 24, 21, and 29 points. Can't really be mad at those point totals, especially with the way the defense is playing. But the problem is these level of turnovers, because we're averaging like 2.5 a game, 3 a game. It's insane right now.
it is.
It's not sustainable.
Well-
Eventually, you're going to run into a team that does not turn the ball over, and then you need your offense to produce the
Right.
same 21, 29 points without field position.
Russell Wilson was 13 of 22, 134 yards passing and touchdown. Not great. Sacked one time.
One time.
DTR was not sacked. 14 of 29, 134 yards. Both of them threw for 134 yards and a touchdown. PJ Walker came in. He was sacked 4 times.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Is that once PJ Walker came in, it was game
PJ
over.
Walker has a happy feet. He does not like to sit still.
He does. But the Broncos rushed for 169 yards, 4.3 yards a carry. It was not bad. It wasn't great, but it was good enough to win, right?
Hey, but we got to see Russ rip off like a 30-yard run in there.
You did.
That was something we haven't seen from Russ in years.
Yeah, it was 19. It
Seattle
was only
days.
19 yards. It seemed longer, but it was only
Whatever.
19. I knew
It felt like it was half the field.
It did. It did.
Because he ran at that speed. He still got chased down by a defensive end.
It seems like it was a big deal, but I mean, when at the end you look at it and you go, okay. So yeah, the Cleveland lost 3 fumbles. That doesn't help either. So when you get those kind of turnovers in a game, but anyway, Denver 6-5 playoff. They're in the playoffs. They're in
Here's a
that
question.
in the hunt category. Yeah.
Is Russ, should he be eligible for comeback player of the year?
Why?
Because last year was terrible.
I don't know if is that what comeback player of the year is?
So it can be a lot of things. It can be somebody who came back from injury and put
Right.
together a great season. It could be somebody who had down years and all of a sudden got better. I mean, they tend to give it to guys who come back from injury, but there's nobody that stands out right now in the league as
Right.
comeback player of the year. And so that's why I'm like, could Russ
He could.
possibly put it together? Like they gave it to Ryan Tannehill in 2019 and Alex Smith in 2020 and Joe Burrow in 2021. So they give it to and Geno Smith last year.
Right.
So Geno Smith was just bad for a while and then went to a situation where he got good. If you're going to give it to Geno based on what he did last year, Russ is blowing him out of the water this year.
All right.
And Russ had
mean,
a garbage year last year. Well, we had a garbage
You,
coach.
you could call it. I mean, you can call it that if you want to.
Current odds are DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a sentimental choice.
It's a sentimental choice, but that is currently the betting odd on FanDuel. Tua, which I don't know if you can call it a
Why?
I guess he got
Just
hurt.
'cause coming back from concussion?
Right, I guess.
I don't know.
Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, maybe.
Lamar Jackson. How are you gonna put Lamar
Why is
Jackson as
he
comeback player of the year?
comeback?
He got hurt, and
don't know.
Aaron Rodgers. I'll tell you what though,
If-
if Aaron
hold
Rodgers
on.
comes back from his Achilles,
He's supposed to now.
I hear they designate him to come back.
Right. So they got 21 days, right? To
If he comes back and they win a couple games, Holy crap.
So what he has said publicly is for conditions. There are conditions for him coming back. Number one is the team needs to be in the fight. I don't remember what the exact phrasing was, but
yeah, he's not coming back then.
right, the team needs to be able to do something. Well, at 4-7, right, with 6 games left, you're
Yeah,
going to need to win 5 of those to become a playoff team.
at least,
That's
yeah.
not as likely as you'd think it was.
Right.
The remaining schedule is not opposed to that. Falcons, Texans, Dolphins,
Mm,
Commanders, Browns,
mm,
and Patriots. It's
you know.
it's not, if Aaron Rodgers is playing and he's healthy, this is not impossible because the Jets are a really good defensive team. But he's due to practice. He hasn't been cleared for contact. We don't know anything about that yet.
And they're 2 games behind the 7th seed.
Yeah, they got a
They're
ways
second to
go.
last in the AFC, and they're
A
2
lot of
games behind the
things.
7th.
Yeah, a lot of things would have to happen.
Right.
I'm not saying that's going to happen, but yes, he's been cleared to practice, but not
Yeah.
contact. So that's different.
I
Let's
just
talk.
if he takes the field at all,
It's a big deal.
given that I tore my Achilles, I know how long that process is. I know how long until you feel comfortable. If this guy tore his Achilles and is back on the field in 3.5 months,
Yeah.
playing at a high level,
Right.
what the hell?
Right. That's pretty
Like,
amazing,
how can
right?
you not?
Well,
Well, give that med staff
I guess
player of the year.
I guess so. Part of this, I've always said this, and part of this is when you're a professional athlete
Right.
and you don't have any other job to go to. There's no other. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to go to a job, and you're just hurt. You have nothing to do but recover. There's no other
Right.
responsibility for you.
But
So
that's tricky because guys hurt themselves because they're not doing anything else. But like, well, I'm
And I-
sitting around right now. I guess I might as well go work out.
and I get that, but what I'm getting at is if he had to spend 8 hours a day going to do something that wasn't rehab, it
Right.
would take away from his rehab time. But he has nothing to do but rehab. That's all he has to do. He's going to practice, I get it, and he's sitting in and he's listening, I get it, but it's Aaron Rodgers. If he says, "Hey, I'm going to rehab," he's going to rehab. You're not going to fight with him. You're not going to argue with him and say, "No, you need to be here." He's going to do what he's going to do. He has nothing better to do but get himself better. And that's hard for the rest of us. If I tore my Achilles today, right, my work wouldn't say, "Oh, well, I mean, yeah, you tore your Achilles, so you're okay. You don't have to come into work, and we
Yeah.
don't expect to see you. All you have to do is work on getting better." That's not how it works in the real life. In professional sports, it is. This is all I do. So guess what? This is all I'm going to do now is train to get better. And when you have dedicated medical professionals to your team, and it's free because you're part of the team, then guess what? It's a lot easier to get better when you're that way as opposed to a regular person. That's all I'm saying.
I'm reading about the surgery that he had. It's called a speed bridge surgery.
Speed bridge.
Yeah, it's actually, that's a trademark phrase, speed bridge. But it basically, like mine was repaired where it tore.
Right?
His tore closer to the bone, like kind of tore off the bone. So this made him eligible for this type of procedure where
Yeah.
they essentially graft it back to the bone, but they use this stretchy, unique material in there that allows like fast. It's like faster. Like I'm reading this one website and they're saying that return to sport in 4 months, and it's like,
Yeah.
wow. Like, so apparently
He's-
this isn't that crazy of a thing,
Right.
but it's wild.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. So let's yeah.
We gotta move on, yeah.
Yeah, we got to move on. Eagles beat the Bills 37-34 in overtime. Jalen Hurts runs for the game winning TD. Did you see the final play on highlights? Or, I don't know if you watched the
Yeah.
game at all.
I watched the game.
Did you see the final play? Did you watch the Bills? And I don't know who it is. One of their defensive backs runs at Jalen Hurts as he's going to the end zone and pulls up and slides and like swipes at his foot. And he
I
doesn't
did
hit him.
not see that.
Yeah. I'm like, he's still 2 yards from the end zone. Why would you not hit him? If he scores, you win they win the game. You know that.
He pulls up and so are you talking about
yeah.
number 31 here?
Nah, if you're
He's
watching
charging at him.
No, it's 23.
Watching the,
Is it 23?
oh,
He slides
sure.
in from the side
Interesting.
and like swipes at his foot. He doesn't like even try and hit him. And I'm like, I would take the penalty. Even if you had to hit him in the head or hit him in the legs or whatever, and I know it's a penalty, that saves the game. but he didn't try to save the game. He slides in from the side and swipes at him, and I'm like, what are you
Well,
doing?
hold on. So, oh, I see.
Yeah.
It's this guy coming. Oh, well, he's behind. He's behind
No,
it.
he took a bad angle. That's
He took a
true.
bad angle.
But he could have still
Did
run
he
at him and hit him.
slip?
I don't think so.
No, that's
I
just kind
think
of
he
strange.
just slid. He
I
just
think
dived.
I think your bigger concern here is number 31, who's faced up with him, but's not moving towards him.
Yeah, he just got
standing still, like he's gonna
bad.
plow over you.
Yeah, that was just bad. But 23 had, I think it was 23, right? Is that the number?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. Yeah,
He had the chance to come in and make a hit from the side.
I see.
Any hit, any hit anywhere on that body, and maybe you stop him from scoring. But instead, he slid. And I'm like, why would you make the conscious decision to slide and not go at him other than you thought it was going to be a penalty and a fine? It doesn't matter. You save the game with a penalty. Even a penalty is better than a touchdown.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. When Jalen is at the 8-yard line,
yeah,
this guy is beat. Or 23 is beat already.
Oh, yeah,
he's
for
already running. He's not running sideways. He's starting to run upfield because
Yeah.
he's going to get outran.
Yeah,
and then
and you're right, but he
just tried to take his legs out. I see what he tried to do, but he just did it poorly.
But he could have dove at his legs.
I see what he tried to do. He just did it poorly.
Yeah, he could have dove at his legs, right? I mean, instead of sliding, he could have dove.
You want to be the guy that takes out Jalen Hurts?
Yeah,
and
absolutely. To save the game, absolutely. Whatever I have to do to win the football game, it doesn't matter. At that point.
I mean, I agree with the motivation behind what you're saying, but in the moment, a lot of things happen.
Yeah, I know.
See, because see right here, he's going. So like, I'm looking at it. I have it paused with him starting his descent down.
Right.
And
this is where I question the rules.
It's just kind of strange.
The NFL rules, because
protecting the quarterbacks becomes kind of a problem.
You start thinking about, am I going to get thrown out? Am I going to get a fine? But that shouldn't be what you're thinking about. What you should be thinking about is, I can save the football game for now. Even if they score again, even if they go on the goal line, they're going to do the brotherly shove.
And he just freaking whiffed.
But he just doesn't go at him, and I'm like, go.
I think he took a bad angle. I think he didn't press hard enough into his run, and then when he got there, he didn't. What are you going to push Jalen Hurts over sideways from the top? Probably not. You got to take out his power facility, which is his legs.
Take out his balance at least. Maybe something will happen. I mean, it's wet and slippery. Maybe he falls down. I don't know.
Oh, I think he tried to grab his foot.
He did. He tried to grab at his foot.
Well, you initially said he was trying to swipe at his foot. I think he's trying to grab his foot.
But I don't think that's a great play.
I think he reached out with one hand and then was bringing the other hand up, and then I think he lost a little balance and slid a little bit.
It takes longer to slide down than it does to dive. So he could have saved a half a second by just diving at his legs. And I get it. If you take him out and you hit him on the knee, I get it. I understand you're that guy. But your team deserves that opportunity.
I think it would behoove of you to watch it and have speed a couple times, because I'm watching it right now. He doesn't slide; he falls.
All right,
is the better way to think about that. Like he definitely doesn't dive at his.
Well, his legs go first.
His legs are north south. His legs are pointed upfield
because he took a bad angle. But that's what I'm saying is he just dove instead of falling at that angle, he's got a better chance of taking him down. He could have launched himself towards the leg.
They also could have put more men up there and not let Jalen Hurts come out and do this thing that Jalen Hurts does.
Right. They deserve to lose a football game because they didn't make a good defensive play. Because
I have more of a concern with 31 and what he was doing, because 23's had a bad angle. He's coming across formation. He's probably not the guy assigned to cover that hole. But 31 is just standing with his feet planted on the one while Jalen Hurts barrels at him. What are you going to do?
I wasn't even talking about 31 because 31 was just lost. I mean,
you know what I mean? He had to do push coverage on the receiver to stop that potential, pull up and throw. But as soon as he releases him, Jalen's coming. You need to go at him as well. And that would have ended in Jalen, if he stalls up, if he slows up, if he has to make a move, that gives 23 more time to come in and make a little more effort. But he just stayed flat-footed. And if I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm seeing that guy flat-footed. I'm saying, I'm going through you.
23 is Micah Hyde, by the way, and 31 is Rasul Douglas, in case we need to say it at some
And they're both pretty good players.
They're both really good players.
Micah Hyde doesn't usually have lapses of judgment.
They've both been in the league at least. Micah Hyde has been in the league 11 years.
Is he really?
Yeah, and Rasul Douglas 7. So these are veterans. They just, but I mean, the problem is the defending of this team when Jalen Hurts can run the football and he's as big as he is.
Right.
He's not. I mean, it's just like, here's what I don't get. All right, let's back up. Here's what I don't get. The Buffalo Bills have a quarterback that is Jalen Hurts. Let's be honest. He doesn't. No, let me listen to me. He doesn't run like Jalen Hurts. He doesn't have the team around him like Jalen Hurts, but he runs the football, right? Like Jalen Hurts runs the football. He's big. He's strong. They have that same guy. They don't play. The Bills defense does not play Jalen Hurts like they would Josh Allen. And they should, because Josh Allen is capable of doing that exact same thing that Jalen Hurts just did. Why would you not be ready for it? That's my problem, is your team has that same guy. Why would you not be ready for it? But they aren't. Josh Allen was the leading rusher in this game. 9 carries, 81 yards. That's 9 yards a carry, by the way. 2 touchdowns. He threw for 339, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was the leading passer and rusher in this game, I think for like the 8th time this season. Yeah, but Jalen Hurts and the team, the Eagles just win. They just find a way to win, which is really frustrating. The Eagles took 17 fourth quarter points to do this, by the way, and the touchdown overtime.
Here's what I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Josh Allen's 6'5", 238. Jalen Hurts is 6'1", 223. So they're close in weight.
Right.
They're not that close in height.
Well, that's true.
Jalen Hurts is all leg muscle. Jalen Hurts ran a 4.59 and Josh Allen ran a 4.75. Now, obviously, those are essentially nude running stats, so it doesn't really mean anything like that much. But Jalen Hurts is small and fast and powerful. Josh Allen is tall and strong and powerful. He's not that fast.
No, he's not that
fast. He does some good movements. Like, he's got good body control, so he gets downfield sometimes. But he's more inclined to power through a moment than Jalen Hurts is. And so I feel like you don't really prepare. Like, I don't know if there's anybody in the NFL right now like Jalen Hurts who plays like that. That's that control and that discipline, but is also that strong.
Yeah.
Like, Jalen Hurts' power center is well known. I mean, that guy, he squatted like 600 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, insane. So when that guy's coming in, not to put more on Micah Hyde, but you're not going to push Jalen Hurts over from the top.
Probably not.
He's not that tall.
No.
You do that to Josh Allen probably. So you need his legs out.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm saying,
but it's just a terrible angle and terrible effort.
Well, all I'm saying is, at that point, when you realized you were out of angle, your angle was wrong. When you realized you were late, when all of that happened, but he's still at the 2-3 yard line. When you have a chance, dive at his legs. If you slipped and fell, okay, I'm willing to forgive that. That happens. It's wet. I mean, it was a rainy game. The whole game was rainy. But if you had a chance to dive at his knee, you have to, or his foot, just to take him out. You have to take him out for the sake of your team, who's now 6-6 and may not make the playoffs at this point, right?
Yeah.
There was no other choice. If it meant a suspension and a fine, it is. I mean, that is what it is. There are times in football where I think the rules handicap a defensive player. And it's always defense. It's never offense. It's always defense. Defensive players feel like they're handicapped because I can't hit a quarterback high. I can't hit him low. I get it. But there are times when you have to, just for the sake of the team. And I get it that you're going to get a fine, you're going to penalty, get a suspension, whatever. But there are times when you have to make that play and sacrifice, because otherwise you're going to lose this football game, which you just did. But
I don't have anything watching that to think that was
and it might not
business decision. It just looked like a screw up, and that
might
happens.
Have been. Right? Which
happens.
Right? Screw ups happen. I get it. All right. Well, Eagles win 37-34. They're 10-1. And then of course they play the Niners this weekend. So that will be a good game. The Niners are 8-3. They have to win. If they lose, pretty much the Eagles are going to wrap up the NFC this weekend.
Right.
That's a big deal. The Bills now at 6-6 are struggling. I don't know. They're in the mix for the playoff for a wild card, but they are still struggling. They haven't been particularly good. Let's be honest. They were 3-1 So since then, they're 3-5.
Right.
Their wins over the Giants, the Buccaneers, and the Jets. So not exactly a who's who of great teams. And their schedule doesn't get any easier. They play at the Chiefs this weekend.
Yeah.
The Cowboys. They still have the Dolphins to play at the Chargers, by the way. So there's tough games still for the Bills. If you had told me at the beginning of the season that the Bills were not going to make the playoffs, I would have said you're crazy. You're crazy, right?
I mean, yeah, but they still have look at the teams that are around them. Are the Bills better than the Broncos? Like, if the Bills and the Broncos play tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Or who are you take? Who are you going to put your money? Neutral site
right now.
Yeah,
the
neutral
Broncos.
site. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no.
Josh Allen just had a 5-touchdown day in a single score overtime loss to the number one team in the league. I'm taking the Bills.
I am absolutely taking the Broncos defense over the Bills offense at this point. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, difference of opinion there. Then nothing else I say is going to matter because I take the Bills over the Texans. I take them over the Colts. I take them over the Browns. I take them over the Steelers. It's
but
at the Dolphins.
Teams.
I hear what you're saying. It's at the Dolphins where I start to get questionable because then you're talking about offenses competing game in and game out. And that's where you'll lose me. I don't think they'll beat the Chiefs this weekend, so that's kind of tough for them. But also, again, how are the Eagles getting everything at home, but the Bills are getting everything on the road?
It's just scheduling quirk. If they lose at the Chiefs and they lose to the Cowboys at home,
right?
They're 6-8. They're not making the playoffs.
I think that they are going to go because they have 5 games left. I think they're going to go 4-1. I think they're going to beat the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Patriots, and the Dolphins, and lose to the Chiefs.
I think they're going to go 3-2. They're going to be 9-8, and it's going to be a struggle.
But even then, even if they do go 4-1, it puts you at you're competing with one of 7 people for the 7th seed,
right?
6th seed. So you're still barely in there. All I know is if the this is going to piss me off. If the AFC North, gets 3 teams into the playoffs, I will be pissed.
Right now
I know right now they do.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett has no business in there.
Well,
the DTR-led Cleveland Browns has no business in there. And being fair, they all have to play the Ravens, I think, one more time. So they should all get another loss.
Yeah. And by the way, the Steelers Ravens is January 7th, last game of the season.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I like that. The Steelers have a tough schedule. It's not so hard right now. It's Cardinals, Patriots, Colts. I think they can win those games. Bengals, who without Joe Burrow, but they play at the Seahawks, at the Ravens.
We're not concerned about the Bengals right now.
Right, they play at the Seahawks, at the Ravens the last 2 games of the season. That might be a struggle for Pittsburgh. I don't know, but the Cleveland Browns.
The Seahawks have given up.
It's true. The Browns have at the Rams. It's winnable. The Jaguars, the Bears at home. Jaguars are tough. Okay, the Bears are winnable. At the Texans, also winnable. The Jets at home, and then at the Bengals. Their schedule sets up nicely. Cleveland does, for them to win. They can easily go 3-2, and finish 10-7, or 4-2, whatever. Finish 11-6. That's an easy schedule for them. So I see the Cleveland making it. I see Baltimore. There's no chance. I mean, Baltimore's going to play at the home against the Rams, right? At the Jaguars. Okay. At the 49ers. Those 2 games are, and then the Dolphins. There's 3 games in a row that are going to be tough. That's going to make or break their season.
It's true, because if they lose all 3 of those,
sure, that's going to be
you're now a 10-6 team.
But they're still going to be in that playoff hunt. There's only 3 teams in there that are going to be like 10-7.
Right.
11-6, somewhere in that ballpark. Anyway, I don't know. We'll see.
And then, of course, we're waiting for the Lamar Jackson injury to happen. It's about that time of year.
It is that time of year. Let's talk about. So, did you watch the Monday Night Football game? Because I did, and I'm going to tell you, miserable. The Bears 12, the Vikings 10. It was a miserable game until the end, right? Because all these games are kind of like that. Just was a disaster. And then next thing you know, hey, Minnesota with 6 minutes left scores, and it's 10-9, right? And then they let the Bears come down the field and kick a field goal with 10 seconds left. It just was so, and it was 4 Cairo Santos field goals from the Bears to win it 12-10 over the Vikings. It was Minnesota turned the ball over 4 times. The Bears held the ball for 35 minutes. There was a lot of things to like about what the Bears did, except they didn't score. They just couldn't.
Right.
They couldn't score anything. But you can't lose the game to the Bears. If you're the
Right.
Vikings, you can't. And now they're 6-6. They're in the same situation that the Bills are in the NFC. So they're in that middle of the pack. Hey, we got to do something because Cleveland's winning, or Detroit's winning the division. And what do we do now? So I don't know. We'll see.
The problem is that everyone has these. I'm thinking about other games that I've seen. Bears Panthers earlier this year, Thursday night.
Yeah.
Everyone said that game was trash. 16-13.
Yeah.
All right. Broncos Chiefs earlier this year was 19-8.
Yeah.
And everyone said it was an instant classic.
An instant classic. I don't know.
I am confused about the criteria, because if two teams go out and both teams play stellar defense, which if they play stellar defense, it makes the offense look kind of silly. Then if the perception of them is that they're good teams, it's a good game. If the perception of them is that they're bad teams, it's a trash game.
Right.
And so when I look back on other games, like 20-16 Steelers over Titans, I remember people were clowning that game as being silly and goofy. I just don't quite understand the criteria sometimes for what's a good and a bad game. Like sometimes I think they're all pretty good, and they all just kind of shake out a little differently. So I watched the whole thing. It was just a big defensive slugfest. They were both attacking each other, and of course they're both using teams that are. I mean, the Bills are not Bills. The Bears are trying to lose, not trying to lose, but they have 2 first-round picks, 2 top 5 picks.
Right.
So they can win a little bit, but they can't win too much. You can keep selling those season tickets for next year, but don't go out and win every game. Right.
Right.
So and this is a divisional game. This is a season ticket selling game.
It is.
Tells you that you can compete for next year, because the people that come to the stadium and watch are going to be Vikings fans as well. So
yeah, and
so I don't put much stock in this game, really. I think it was kind of a show.
And unless Detroit figures things out, they're really good at times and really not at times.
I feel like they can be beat by anybody at some times.
They can be beat and they can beat anybody. It's a weird, it's a wild card team, and you just don't know what you're going to get. But they're probably going to win the division. I mean,
I feel like you get that a lot from player coaches.
It's weird.
You get a lot of like head coaches. You get a lot of inconsistency.
Sure.
Week in and week out, but you get some really good, highly motivated teams. I'm thinking like the Bengals when they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
highly motivated team, player coach. I think it was nice.
Let's talk about Kareem Jackson for your Broncos. He made a hit on Minnesota's Josh Dobbs. This was not last week, 2 weeks ago, and it was. We'll get your opinion on it. I don't know how you feel about it, but this is the play that happened.
Well, you get your tight end under the center, flip it to your quarterback, who I just told you they were concerned about ball security. He fumbles the ball, and the Broncos start the game exactly like they did a week ago.
Did you watch that play?
Yes.
Okay. Did you think he led with his helmet?
Ooh.
Did you think he could have done something different than what he did? I guess that's the question.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He absolutely could have come in more straight up with his body, arms wider, things like that. He absolutely could have done that, and then he would have just gotten a tackle, and the drive would have kept going.
Yeah.
That's it. He wasn't trying to do that. That's not his job as a free safety. His job is to blow you up.
But
that's his task.
But you can't lead with the helmet. He did. He launched himself and led with the helmet. Put his helmet on the ball. The crown of his helmet, not just the front,
so that's
like a
the
face
thing.
mask.
So there's the caveat. It's not about leading with the helmet. They'll say it is, but it's not. Because if you hit nothing, you don't get flagged.
No. But
despite the fact that you tried to.
You have to make contact, and you have to hit the crown.
But if I dive in helmet first and hit the ball clean out, okay?
If you just hit the ball, it'd be great. But he hit him in the head.
These are microsecond decision making that I have to decide while he's falling to the ground, and I'm trying to pop this ball loose. That's the problem. That's exactly the problem.
And I'm not.
Is that it's too subjective within a fraction of a second, and it's easy to pick apart when you look back at it.
I'm not gonna
Josh Dobbs is falling backwards.
I'm
When
not.
he drops his face down a little, you just have to let me get through. You have to let me get
Okay.
through. When he puts his face down and drives through, trying to make contact, he's aiming at his chest. When he gets there, he's clipping his helmet because Josh Dobbs is falling down.
Here's my question. Is it okay to lead with the crown of my helmet, the tip top, and hit him in the chest as opposed to hitting him in the head? Is that okay still?
Well, it's okay if you miss, and it's okay if you hit the ball, and it's okay. Intent is kind of irrelevant. It's all about where you contact, and that's the issue. If we want to get rid of this type of play, I'm fine with it.
Easy.
But then you need to flag guys who whiff if their head's down.
You can't.
I don't care. That's how you get rid of it.
You can't.
You can't say, oh, well, if you missed, it's fine.
Well, yeah, but I can't hold nobody.
What do you mean? Because if I hit him, then I kill him.
But I can't.
Like, I'm confused. Like, you want to get rid of the intent. You want to get rid of the motion.
But I can't hold nobody. You can't flag me for just grabbing a hold of nothing. You're talking. That's what you're talking about. I could hold nobody.
But here, dropping your head, putting your eyes to the ground, to the side, it's a clear intent.
That's the problem.
To use your helmet as the catalyst for the hit.
That's the problem.
It's a clear intent, and that's why you have to flag it, even if you whiff people, even if you hit just the ball, even if you just clip someone's knee or leg or thigh, you have to flag it because you're trying to get rid of this move, period.
I get it, but if you can only flag the contact because you can't flag the intent.
Okay, so then we don't flag it if he whiffs. Fine, what the hell ever. If you hit the ball, if you hit an arm, if you hit a thigh, if you hit a foot, I want to flag.
Sure. Okay.
It doesn't have to be just the head, helmet, neck area. That's a garbage way to try and get rid of this rule because again, he starts his motion while Josh Dobbs is up.
I get it.
And he gets to him when he is down and low.
But he's also.
And your argument will be, well, we got to get rid of this type of hit. He's not trying to tackle; he's trying to hit.
Right. Well, not just that. He's leading.
That's true, even when he's trying to hit the ball.
He's leading with the crown of the helmet.
That's true, even when he's trying to hit the ball. Yeah, and that's true, even if he's trying to lead that crown into the ball or into a thigh.
And that's fine. What I'm saying is, you have to stop the crown. You have to stop him leading with the crown of the helmet. He can hit him all he wants.
And the way you stop that is by flagging anytime anybody leads with the crown. Period.
Well, he had to get it. This one was for sure because he hit him in the head. He hit him in the neck at the face mask.
He popped the bottom of his face mask, yeah. And that's because Josh Dobbs was falling down.
And I get it, but you have to anticipate that's going to happen. You have to know that's going to happen. You have to be ready for it. Turn your head to the side. If you have your head down, there's no way you can avoid it.
See, hold on. That's what he did to Luke Musgrave weeks ago. His head is off to the left at the point of contact, shoulders, hit him high for sure, just below the helmet in the high chest with his shoulder head off to the side, still kicked out of a game. It doesn't matter. High hits on players are going to be frowned upon. Helmet down, helmet up, off to the left, off to the right, doesn't matter. They've been flagging them all season.
You know what this is? This is a Draymond Green situation. I mean,
he's a little more like there's obvious intent here. He's trying to hit with the helmet.
But he's also been suspended already. This was his first game back.
And his suspension came after the hit that so that's another thing. He got suspended. He got ejected from that Packers game.
Right.
For the hit on Luke Musgrave. Again, helmet to the side. He cleaned that up from the first time he got kicked out of a game against the Raiders for his hit on Jacoby Myers.
But he didn't learn because this was still helmet. This was still dropping his head and not looking where he's going.
Yeah, let's go step by step there because I'm stuck on the second one here on the way to the fourth one because there's 4 of these. There's 4 of these times he's been fined for them, all right? Flagged for 2 of them, ejected for 2 of them, fined for 4. And this is the problem. When you look at all 4, they're all very different. The one on Jacoby Myers is the most egregious because Jacoby's straight up, he drops down, he hits him, he's not falling down or anything, he goes at his head. Is what it is. It sucks, but damn, dude, you got to be better than that.
Right.
The one on Musgrave, no, that's a good hit.
I mean, yeah,
but he got ejected for a game, fined, suspended for 5, and then that suspension was reduced. How are you going to reduce a suspension? Oh, it wasn't as bad as we thought.
Right.
What do you mean? Either it's bad or it's not. I lead with it or I didn't. And then he goes out in another game and he gets one, and then they find him afterward. And then this one where he pops the bottom of his face mask, high chest, but he is definitely more leading with the helmet. You can say Kareem's the problem. You need to learn from your mistakes. You need to pick your eyes up and things like that. That's not his job. If he goes out and causes 4 fumbles this year and is suspended the rest of the game, but we win those games, I don't give a shit. Blow
Oh,
these
so
dudes up.
so if he loses the 4 games that he got suspended for, that's okay.
No, if we're losing games because of his actions, that's fine, but we're not.
Well, right now you're not because they're playing really well. What I'm saying
That's
is
true. There's other people picking it up.
right, if because of this next game you lose because he's not out there, that's a problem.
But see, how are you going to suspend him when your officials couldn't even flag him?
They didn't flag it. No, they didn't flag the play, which is weird, right?
Are the officials suspended? I thought their
They
job
should
was
be.
to protect players.
They should be. I mean, this is a problem.
The league needs, and we said this about the NBA, it needs more accountability across the board.
If the league is going to suspend and fine the player for this action, then absolutely the referees need to be suspended because there's no reason why they shouldn't have called the play, right? They should have called it when it happened, and they didn't. So nothing happened on the field, but he's getting fined and suspended because of his action, which is weird to me. There has to be a yellow flag thrown. If there's not, those referees, they're liable. And you're right.
But I guess the other issue is that he's reached out to the league for clarification.
He's going
apparently they've given him nothing before.
He's going to meet with Roger Goodell. That's what he said.
That's why he's going to meet with Roger Goodell now, because he has reached out to the league, and the league has been like, well, this is why this is wrong.
Right.
Okay, why is it wrong? Well, this is just how it's written in the rules.
Right.
That's not an answer. What can I do better? Coach me up. Teach me a better way to do it. And that's why he says, and he told him the thing. He said, I've got tape of about 30 other hits from around the league where nobody's fined or suspended. They're the same.
You know what I like is that these things get us fired up. We got to move on.
It's because they're strange. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to move on. But I'm with you in that it's on the referees to make this call correctly. Let's be honest. That's where the liability is. However, he's also obviously not learning. When he hit Luke Musgrave, he hit him with the shoulder in the head. He didn't hit him with the head.
He hit him about the same point as he hit Josh Dobbs. Like he aimed for that high chest area.
But it's still
it wasn't clean on his head. It wasn't like this guy's head hunting anyone.
I get it, but he's still hitting him at or near the neck or head area.
So only waist tackles from now on. Let's make the mandate.
Okay, perfect. Absolutely. We should
because
absolutely
God
be
forbid
playing
I go
flag
to
football.
hit you in the belly and and you decide to fall down and I
I
clip your shoulder because that's head neck area, right?
And
now you should suspend me.
I agree with you. It should be flag football. It really, honestly, let's be honest. Because if we're not going to do it,
if you're going to play this game, like where you're not going to, but that's another thing. He had that big hit on Jacoby that got him kicked out, and now he's carrying the Draymond with him.
He is, right. You're right.
It doesn't matter because then he goes out and hits Luke Musgrave 4 games later.
Yeah.
And boom, get out. You're done. You ejected him right away. And then you look back on it, you go, well, that wasn't even that bad of a hit. Like, I mean, I've seen worse ones every other game. So now he's got this reputation for these hits, and they're not like the Jacoby one's the one that you got me convinced on. That was absolutely tough. Like that's a bad hit.
Yeah,
even on accident, bad hit.
Right.
But the other ones,
yeah, I know.
you could easily make your argument for one thing or another thing, but there's none for that first one. So, but yeah, at this point, he said he's a poster child. He's like they're making an example out of me. So it is what it is.
Let's move to college football. We got things to talk about. So, Oregon State played in the Civil War. It's not called that anymore, but it is the Civil War. The number 6 Oregon Ducks, number 16 Oregon State Beavers. Oregon behind Bo Nix. Bo Nix was 33 of 40, 367 yards, 2 touchdowns. The last 2 games, he before the last game against Arizona State, he was leading the nation in completion percentage.
Right.
He had the all-time record at that point for completion percentage. He has raised it 2 consecutive weeks. I don't know how you do that, but he does it. He just does it. He 367 yards, 2 touchdowns. His QBR is 97.4. Tez Johnson, 11 catches, 137 yards. Troy Franklin, 9 catches, 128 yards. Those 2 guys had 265 yards of receiving and a touchdown, 20 catches. He hit 8 receivers. I mean, it wasn't just like there was one guy doing it. Bo Nix he ran for a touchdown. This team, they held Damian Martinez with 38 yards rushing on 13 carries, 2.9 yards a carry. And we said last week, both of us, that's what they had to do. They had to shut down the run, stop Martinez, make Uwangalele beat you with his arm. He can't. 19 for 35, 220 yards, a touchdown, interception. His QBR 64.5. He ran 7 carries for 13 yards, which is nothing. The Oregon State as a team ran for 53 yards, their lowest of the season, 2.2 yards a carry. Their longest run of the day was 6 yards. Oregon looked every bit the better team and a playoff caliber team. Am I wrong?
Right.
I mean, so, did you see anything on the Oregon side that would suggest they're not a top 4 team?
No. I mean, I saw nothing to suggest that they weren't a top 2 team. Now, who the 2 are is, but they've done nothing since, and honestly, I think it's really since that Texas Tech game, where their defense got absolutely gashed and ran over and things like that, with that weird kind of like draw play thing they kept doing.
Yeah.
Since then, they've been damn near infallible, with their only issue being at Washington.
That's play calling.
Yeah, and there was some play call. I mean, but even then, the defense still gave up 30-something points, right?
Sure.
Like, you still gave up points to them. So you would prefer that number to be somewhere around 20-something, because then you can live up to your average of 30-something and win a game. So the defense, that was like their one thing. But that's also playing the number 3 team in the country.
I mean,
so
right?
it's like, at what point are you allowed to say, okay, you let up some yards? But it was to them.
Right.
So it kind of makes some sense. I don't know. I think, yeah, they're definitely a top 4 team in the country, no question.
It was 14-0, and then Oregon State scored that Bolden scored on the dive to the corner off the little pass, and it was 14-7, right? And then that play to Troy Franklin that we played at the outset was the difference maker. I mean, to be honest with you, that kind of like, okay, you guys have scored. We got how much? A minute left? No worries. And Troy Franklin catches the ball and, I don't know, for lack of a better term, kind of dead legs, kind of just
he kind of
hesitates.
like a dead leg is what it looks like.
he kind of hesitates and then turns right, and he's gone. And that was a touchdown. And it was 41 yards for a score, and it was like game over at that point, 21-7 at that point. And that, I think that sucked the life out of Oregon State. Oregon State's a good football team. Let's not shortchange them. They are a good football team. This is not it's not Vanderbilt you're playing, right? This is a really good football team. They've beaten up or competed with most teams they've fought Washington hard. They should have beat Washington, to be honest. They didn't, I get it. But they were right there. So this is not a bad football team by any stretch. But Oregon just has so many weapons, and their defense is playing so good. They didn't turn the ball over. No fumbles, no interceptions. There's no turnovers. It's hard to beat a team that doesn't turn the ball over. It really is. 31 points, okay. It wasn't their average. It wasn't a great offensive performance. I would say it was, lower end this season.
But the Beavers are supposed to be one of the better teams.
Right. The Beavers have great
teams.
defensive, right? Yeah.
So in theory, it's on
Right.
it's on pace.
Yeah, no sacks. There were no sacks and no turnovers. If your quarterback isn't getting sacked and you have no turnovers, it is hard to lose a football game. It really is. And the Ducks only had 1 sack, so it wasn't like this was a big deal. But it was okay. I'm gonna be honest. Oregon State's kicker Atticus Sappington
What a name!
is the best name
What
in
a
football right
name.
now. I know, right? I like that one. And he's better than Camden Lewis, who can't kick a field goal. We'll talk about that later. I don't know. We'll talk about it next weekend. After the Washington game, if they win. So the Ducks win. Big deal. Let's talk about the Pac-12, the rest of the Pac-12. Washington and Washington State in the Apple Cup was a big deal. It ended up being a lot closer than most people would have thought it was. But I've been telling you that Washington State's a dangerous football team, right?
Washington's been flirting with a loss for a while too.
And Washington just can't seem to beat anybody. They can't just seem to put
Their last 3
anybody
games
away.
have been a 7-point win, a 2-point win, and a 3-point win. Like,
Yeah.
it's not been fantastic. You throw in the Oregon 3-point win in there, you throw in the Arizona 7-point win in there, and now you've got 5 games on your season where it was one score or it was 7 points or less.
Right.
Like of your undefeated season, 5 games were 7 points or less. Which, don't get me wrong, winning in crunch time's part of the gig. But
Right.
also, like, you should like they should have been better than Washington State, better than this.
They should have. Michael Penix was 18 of 33, 204 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. His QBR is 53.1. Just FYI, this is a Heisman Trophy candidate, and he was meh at best.
Yeah.
Right. Meh. And if it hadn't been for Odunze, Romeo Odunze for the Huskies is the only guy they have. Let's be honest.
And he only had well, I mean, he had 7 receptions for 120, so it's not bad.
He had 2 touchdowns. He was the only guy they had. Dylan Johnson, who was like a big deal, 21 carries, 82 yards, 3.9 yards a carry. Not a big deal. The Odunze 4th down run late in the 4th quarter that was 1 carry, 23 yards, right? He had 23-yard run on 4th down. That was a huge play. It made everything. Washington State had 2 plays after that they could have intercepted the football, and they didn't. They both defensive backs had hands on the ball, and it would have ended everything. And they didn't. They could not stop the drive. It was kind of what you would expect, I guess. Washington has been winning like this for the last 6 games, right?
For a while. I think they got 1 blowout in there, but yeah, for a while.
Washington State's a good football team. They're not great. Obviously, 5-7, they're not going to a bowl game, but they're definitely capable of beating anybody. And they just didn't. So this game, Washington finishes 12-0 on the season, 9-0 in the conference. The first team to finish 12-0 in a long time, but they're the first Washington team since their 91 national championship co-champion team. Co-champions, because that was back before BCS or any of that crap, and they tied with, I think, Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's that. But heading into the Pac-12 championship game, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, we'll talk about that in a minute. Apple Cup goes to Washington. Kalen DeBoer, there he is hosting it. I like that. Or the Civil War doesn't have a trophy. Oregon State doesn't have a trophy. Never has.
It has the platypus.
Does it?
The wooden platypus, yeah.
But they haven't. That's like a recent thing. It hasn't been that way.
Well, no, it's oh my gosh, it's from the 80s, 70s.
Okay, but still, the Apple Cup's been around forever. I feel like there should be something more.
I'm trying to find this little article because I read a whole fantastic story about it back in the day, like, you know, the schools were stealing it from each other and things like that.
Right.
So it originated in 1959.
Right.
And for 3 years, 59-61, the trophy was awarded to the winning school. The trophy was lost for more than 40 years before being rediscovered in 2005 and was repurposed as the game's unofficial trophy in 2007. It is awarded to the Alumni Association of the current school. So it's not on the field.
Hey.
It's given to alumni.
Where do you think it was?
Oh, in some frat house, probably. Hold on.
I mean, if it was
reappearance
for however many years, where do you think it was?
You wrote a column lamenting the fact that, unlike any other college rivalry games, it did not have a trophy. Somebody named Spady contacted John Canzano and informed him of the existence of the Platypus Trophy, and a follow-up column ignited the search, which was led by the student body president. Dan Williams, U administrator, who had been the student body president, handed the trophy over to his OSU counterpart in 1961, and the trophy was rediscovered in 2005 in the closet of the University of Oregon's MacArthur Court.
Hold on, 40-something years.
Yeah.
And it was at the University of Oregon.
It was at Mac Court in the closet.
40-something years.
How cool is that?
40-something years is a long time to be missing a trophy. For someone to say, "Hey, where's my trophy?" Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone just thought somebody stole it, but really they just moved. They just moved, and you lost stuff.
Probably, and that's probably true. It's probably.
When we moved out to Denver, there's so many things like, where the hell is this?
We're still doing that right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because media headquarters moved here from Yakima to Tacoma, and then we're like, I don't have any idea where those curtain hooks are. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But this is like a trophy that people give out, and I feel like it's something that should be out. And my cursor's not working. My mouse is not working.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. Can't get right, because
the Platypus Trophy's neat. I think it's a good idea to merge a duck and a beaver together into one. I think that's appropriate. But the Ducks have won it 14 times. And the Beavers have won it 6 times historically.
I can't move my cursor.
Oh.
I mean,
Well, you gotta.
I don't understand. I understand why it's not working. I don't know if it's batteries or if it's been working and just
Is it a wireless one?
Yeah, it's not working. Not moving at all. Like
It could just be batteries.
It could be, but I can't imagine that it's that it would just like stop. Maybe. I don't know. I gotta.
Well, I mean,
that's
Do you have another way to click on anything on the screen?
I mean, not really. I mean, but the arrows will work. But I mean, I can click on things, but I can't like officially move. No, it's not working. What the shit is going on?
Well, if you need
idea.
a minute to go grab a battery, go do it.
I do.
Yeah.
You gonna cover?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'll keep talking about the other Pac-12 football scores.
All right. Go ahead. So here's I can't even move that. So you had the Territorial Cup, Arizona State. You had UCLA getting crushed by California, 33-7. And that was the other question: is Chip Kelly on the hot seat? So go. I'll be right back.
Is Chip Kelly on the hot seat? He is, but he absolutely shouldn't be, and that's the problem. Is that if Chip Kelly, if you can be a coach who goes in there and wins and is relatively successful and things like that, and somehow you can't keep your job, like that's such a confusing concept. Like Chip Kelly has put UCLA football back on the map without a doubt. So the fact that that someone would be willing to throw it away and say like, oh no, Chip, guess you didn't do enough. Like, what the hell does that even mean? It didn't. I don't know. UCLA has been fantastic, but I will say this: they have underperformed. So I would say, even if I don't think that he should be on the hot seat this year, I do think he should be on the hot seat soon, because this year was supposed to be a year that they came out and they won 9-10 games. Were competing for the pack. Here they are at 7-5. So we need them to win more. And we need to see obvious signs of improvement, because last year they didn't have a terrible year. They ended the regular season 9-3. So what happened? What was the step back? You brought in this new quarterback. You did all this stuff. You're supposed to be getting better. You brought all these recruits in. And the year before they were 8-4. So you were 8-4, 9-3, 7-5. It's very mediocre, and people, especially today, don't like mediocrity. They want you to hurry up and win. They want it now. Chip Kelly's been the coach there since it was like 2019, 2018, something like that. So he's been the coach there for a hot minute.
Yeah.
But I think he's shouldn't be in the hot seat, but I think he is.
Yeah. So, and by the way, it was batteries.
No. Sounds about right.
The batteries just stopped. UCLA. So UCLA in 2019 was 4-8.
Yeah.
And terrible. And then in 2020, it was COVID year 3-4. Okay, we're gonna give that one a bye to everyone. But then 8-4 in 21, 8-4 in 22, and now 7-5.
They were 9-3 last year is what I saw.
Wait, hold on, I'll go back.
The 2022 last year was their best year to date. 9-3 in the regular season, 9-4 with the bowl game.
9-4, right?
With the bowl game, 9-3 regular season. Yeah.
Sure, but yeah, 9-4. So
you had improvement from year to year, and then now you stepped back. What's going on? What's the deal with that? Is it part of this move? But I think you're moving conferences. Like, let's keep a little stability for now.
They've managed to beat a team in the top 15 both years. They beat Utah in 22. They beat Washington State in 23. But they can't seem to quite get over the hump and beat all the teams. That they didn't play Oregon this year, so that was helpful because that would have been another loss. So UCLA, I don't know. Chip Kelly is probably deservedly on the hot seat. I mean, I can't imagine there's another coach in the Pac-12 that would be on the hot seat like him. Josh Wilcox at Cal, maybe.
Yeah, but he just took that job 2 years ago, so he's still new to it.
Well, they're
and Cal's expectations
are low,
are not UCLA's expectations.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lincoln Riley might be the other person on the hot seat. And
I mean, yeah.
it's early. I get it. He's only been there 2 years, but their
Well, his expectations were sky high.
sky
Yeah.
high. They should have
Yeah.
10 wins, 11 wins every year, and they're not. They're not getting that.
Yeah,
So,
I would say that's probably accurate because Arizona State, Stanford, Utah, Oregon, Washington, they're all good. Coach Prime at Colorado, you can argue that he might have some hot seat, but with the revenue he's generating for a school that hasn't generated real revenue in a while,
right.
you're okay with it. You're okay with what happened this year. You're definitely seeing it through. So I wouldn't even call him on the hot seat either, which really only leaves like, a couple of teams to look at. You're looking at Cal, USC.
Right.
Washington State, but Washington State, no, they just replaced their coach because the other one got fired for the COVID stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's
COVID stuff.
the COVID stuff because he didn't want to wear a mask and he felt like we were violating his rights or something like that. But
Right.
yeah, so there's not many Pac-12 schools that have somebody in the hot seat. So if you have to pick some people, I honestly think Lincoln Riley is the highest.
Arizona 59-23 over Arizona State. In the Territorial Cup. I don't think Territorial Cup is that big. I mean, it's a big cup for those guys. Obviously, it's important. It's a rivalry game. I get it.
Right.
But this is the 6th straight win for Arizona, by the way. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. Their losses are to Washington and USC 43-41, by the way. They've not lost a game over in 7 points.
Right.
And Mississippi State, Washington, and USC. Those are the teams they've lost to. The Mississippi State loss doesn't look good, but 7 points is the most they've lost by this year. Arizona and Jed Fish. I think Jed Fish is the coach of the year. I don't know when they're going to hand out the trophy, but he's got to be the Pac-12 coach of the year. Arizona's amazing to me. That's an amazing story because I didn't see them being any good, and I'm glad Oregon didn't play them.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded playing them early because typically we tend to get them 5 or week 4 or week like 8.
Right.
So that's not a bad time. They really didn't start hitting that stride until like week 6, 7.
Right.
So it might not have been a terrible time to play them. But yeah, I would not have liked to do it.
In their last 6 games, they beat 4 ranked teams. And I mean, this is the best football team in college football right now. They're playing better than maybe anybody. A couple of them were close, I get it, but still, they just managed to win. But anyway, I think Arizona's probably the best team that we've seen outside of Oregon and Washington, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, this year, yep.
Yeah, so Notre Dame beats Stanford, and Stanford is terrible. Not that that means anything, but Notre Dame 56-23 over Stanford. No one cares. Let's be honest, right? Outside of Notre Dame or Stanford, no one cares.
Right.
Utah and Colorado played, and Utah won, and so Colorado finishes 4-8.
Yeah.
Colorado was 4-1. Am I not mistaken?
They were 4. Well, they got to 4-2. It's kind of like that pivot point for them that people point at.
I feel like they were 4-2 because they lost to Oregon and USC back to back.
Oregon and USC back to back, and then won a game to give them 4 wins.
Right, and then lost everything else. So
and then commenced to just shit the bed.
Yeah, they were terrible. What's that going to do? So transfer portal wise, obviously you're going to lose some people because people don't want to play for a loser, right? You got a lot of people to come with you if you're Deion Sanders, and I get that. But I feel like once that happens, everyone's going to, there's going to be decommitting, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's bad right now. They've lost in the last some weeks. They lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people.
Do you hear about it there? I mean,
yeah, but so that's an interesting perspective. Is the people here obviously were very gung-ho go Colorado, and then they started getting good. They started having games. Their offensive output was great. And then all you could hear was about how good Colorado was. And they started losing games, and you started to hear minor excuses. Well, it's one game. Well, it's Oregon, right? I mean, it's on the road. It's a tough game. Oh, well, it's USC. It's a high-powered offense. What do you expect? And then you started losing games like the Stanford game, and you stopped being able to make good excuses for why you were losing.
Right.
And then they kept losing games.
Right.
And so the narrative kind of went from first season growing pains, blah, 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 to like, we gotta do something. We gotta fix this. We gotta fix that. Like
Right.
that sort of stuff. And it kind of started to get a little like on the radio. They'd start arguing with each other over like what needs to be done. But once decommits started happening recently, so I was wrong. I was looking at 2023. They've lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people since the end, and one of them was a 4-star. The other 3 were 3s. But they lost their potential future quarterback, which was Danny O'Neal. After Shadur leaves, assuming.
Right.
But now the talk around here is like, if they're losing these recruits and they lost these games, who are they gonna field? Like what are they fielding the same team again? Like
Right.
what do we expect to happen?
Okay.
Not that the Big 12 is better, but
Right.
they're still gonna go out there and lose games.
Well, you still
Texas and Oklahoma.
Well, Texas and Oklahoma are gone.
Oh, that's right.
So
They're basically moving to a mid-major conference.
right. The Big 12 is going to be TCU, right? And Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. But yeah,
But they bring Arizona
Kansas
and
State.
Utah with them. Arizona has a chance next year to move into
to
this
win the Big
conference
12.
and just run it because
It's
it
Arizona.
doesn't look good.
It's Arizona or Utah, right?
Right.
Yeah, they're going to win that conference. That conference to me, has lost a lot of luster. Oklahoma and Texas are gone. So what you got left is what you got left. And that's, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, they're all moving there.
Yeah.
But I don't think what's left is a great shake. I mean, Texas Tech, TCU, okay, but Houston, Oklahoma State is good. It's a good football team. But none of them replaces Oklahoma or Texas, and neither does Utah, Colorado, or Arizona. You know what I mean? Utah's good. They've been very good in the Pac-12. They've been a great football team. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the Big 12 next year. But the Big 12 has become that of the 5, the other conference.
Well, all of their marquee schools. Well,
Yeah.
they have 2 marquee schools right now, Oklahoma and Texas. They're both leaving. And what they're getting back are not marquee schools.
That's what I'm saying.
Colorado's a marquee name right now because of everything that's
it's
going
not
on.
really good.
But that won't last. Like, it's a
Yeah.
flash in the pan. I don't think in 3 years you're still going to be talking about Colorado.
Right. And Colorado's offensive coordinator Lewis has been named the San Diego State head coach. So they're going to lose an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And then I just don't know. I just
And allegedly Shadur Sanders has a fractured back.
that's
So,
a
like,
bad thing.
How does that work for your starting? I mean, time can heal stuff, and there's a lot of time between next season. But
Sure.
still, it's like that's not a great injury to sustain.
Yeah. Jonathan Smith of Oregon State has accepted the job at Michigan State. I'm not 100% certain that's a great move. You're an Oregon State alum. You played quarterback there. You've got a lot of ties there. You've built a program there. Why would you leave to Michigan State, which has nothing but issues? I mean, money. But other than money, what's the reason?
Well, he went to college at Oregon State, but he's from California. So
Okay.
let's not confuse too much. He's a Los Angeles guy.
Okay, but he's not a Michigan guy.
But he's a for hire guy. Like all these Oregon
right.
State fans want to claim them as a guy. He's one of us. He's one of us because he came here and played for 4 years.
Right.
Like Royce Freeman came to Oregon and played for Oregon for 3 years, for 3 or 4 years, and he's a Duck for sure.
But
that dude's from Imperial, California, without a doubt. He's not an Oregonian.
But-
Neither is Jonathan Smith. And Oregon State fans love to get romantically attached to their coaches because they had that one coach for so long that they loved and was so good to them. They had Erickson, and they had who was the guy who took over for Erickson?
yeah, the guy
I
from
forgot his name already.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, but no, not the guy from Wisconsin. That was after this other, because there was like 14 years there in between that we're talking about. The head coach of Oregon State.
Well, what's his name was there twice.
Yes, he left and he came back. That's who I'm talking about. What is his name?
You're talking no
Mike Riley.
Mike Riley, yeah.
Dennis Erickson was there. Then Mike Riley was there. And Mike Riley was the guy they were super romantically attached to because he was there for 11 years.
03 to 14, yeah.
Yeah, and then Gary Anderson was there for a couple years,
That
and
was
they
the
hated
Wisconsin
him.
guy,
They were
right?
like, oh, this guy's not one of us.
Right.
Also, he wasn't winning. And then Jonathan Smith, they're like, yeah, this is a good hire. He's our guy, but he's not. He's really not. No matter what way you really want to think of him. So he took a job to get paid more, to get more exposure, to potentially boost his track to the NFL. Because I'll be honest with you, not many coaches from Oregon State get hired into the NFL, even in coordinator roles.
Right.
So you need to move to a bigger school. This is a bigger school. It's a school with a lot of problems, but it's a bigger school.
Right.
So I wouldn't say this is a bad choice by him. He could have easily stayed with Oregon State, unsure of where they were going to play football next year, unsure of recruiting. Like, what are you telling recruits? At least now he gets to go to the Big Ten. He gets to talk to recruits very upfront. He gets to say, here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm going. Here's where we'll be. We're stable as hell. We don't
Right.
got to worry about it.
Right.
So it might not have been. Maybe he knew that the Beavers were about to sink bad, and was
So-
like, I got to get off this ship.
It's interesting to see how many coaches a school has had.
Yeah,
In that Oregon State has only had like 32 head coaches. Oregon has had 39.
Yeah.
But since 1976, when Rich Brooks took over,
Right.
you're talking about 8 head coaches.
and
Um,
usually there's good succession. Rich
Right.
Brooks to Bellotti, right?
Bellotti,
to Chip
Kelly.
Kelly was his coordinator.
To
Chip
Helfrich.
Kelly, then to Helfrich, who was his coordinator.
And then
So
Taggart.
typically it's a good one. And
Yeah.
then you started the little carousel of
Taggart,
Taggart, and then
Cristobal.
the Cristobal,
Yeah.
and now Lanning. So
Yeah. And
it's
Brian
been a little
McClendon.
crazy lately.
Brian
But that's-
McClendon, who was the head coach for one game.
Yeah.
But so I feel like it's interesting to watch these teams change coaches, because you're like, oh, well, that's a big deal. Well, there's only been 31 in Oregon State history, and Oregon has more, obviously, but they've been constant. It hasn't been like there's been so Mike Riley, was the longest tenured coach in Oregon State history, I think. Really, because I don't see another person on here that did it for more than his 11 years from 03 to
Yeah.
14, right?
And they loved that guy.
Yeah, Mike Riley.
And then he
was
came back to work with Gary Anderson as a coordinator. Do you remember that?
yeah. So
Like, and it was like, oh, thank God, stability's back in the program.
Mike Riley is the winningest coach in Oregon State history with 93 wins.
Yeah,
30,
that was a really
Thir-
good period of time.
30 more than anybody else. So
Jeez Louise.
yeah, and 93 is not a lot.
So no matter how you feel about Jonathan Smith's 5 years, he doesn't even
No,
he doesn't even whiff.
Jonathan Smith is 26 and 31 as an Oregon State head coach.
With a 10-win season, did they win 10 games last year? I think they went. I think they ended at 10 wins last
Right.
year with the bowl game, and with and I guess he can only claim 8 wins for this year, can he? He can't claim any more than that because he's
No.
gone now. So he's had 2 winning seasons at Oregon State, I think. Is that right?
Let's look.
That's crazy if
He's-
that's right, because if you talk to an Oregon State fan, you'd think he was the truth, the way, and the light.
So his head coaching record, he's had 2 winning records, 3. So
Three,
in
21,
21 they were 7-6,
Yep.
and then 10-3, 8-4. So 3 winning records, and now he's gone. He's a Michigan
That's
State
right.
coach. Prior to that, he was 9-22 as the head coach from 18 to 20.
Right.
Yeah, not great.
But I think we all agree he definitely made that program competitive
Sure.
in a relatively short amount of time, going from and through the pandemic.
I guess this begs the question: are you better being the large fish in a small pond, or the medium fish, small fish in a big pond?
Here's what I'll tell you: as long as you can recruit, right, in a 12-team playoff, you're better to be the big fish in a small pond.
I guess so.
Recruit well, whoop that butt of that conference or whatever process you're in, and then just work your way into the playoffs every year.
All right, let's move on.
Yep.
College football in general, the scores over the weekend. So obviously you had the big game, Michigan 30, Ohio State 24. Ohio State is probably out of the playoff. I
Right.
mean, I don't see a way for them to get back in.
Well, with where they're positioned,
Right.
If
It's
Oregon
tough.
loses, if Florida State loses, and Michigan loses, they might end up in.
Well, if
but
Oregon
Michigan
loses
would have to lose
Washington.
bad.
Right.
Well, I know, but that's why Florida State and Michigan have to lose also.
Right.
But Michigan has to lose bad because they won't want to
It's-
drop them behind Ohio State
Let's be honest.
unless it looks awful.
Let's be honest. There's probably not a way in. I mean,
It's so small.
It's
It's
small.
tiny.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Michigan with a 30-24 win. I don't know. It wasn't a great game to watch. I watched it. It was close back and forth, but Michigan definitely looks better. Ohio State just looks. I don't know that Michigan's offense is good enough to beat Iowa's defense, and they're going to play them in the Big 12 championship or Big 10 championship game on Saturday. I'm not sold that they're not going to struggle against Iowa's defense.
Well, they are currently a 93% favorite on ESPN's college football playoff thing.
And I
They're
get
currently a 93% favorite
what's
to beat Iowa.
Well, hold on now. Let me look. So, let me see what they're favored by in terms of.
Oh, it's not much.
Yeah, so they're I get it. 92%. What's the betting line? 21.5. They're a 21.5 point favorite.
They're
over
21 and a half.
Iowa. Yeah, I would take that if I was you. If you,
I'll spam the under.
Absolutely. The over under is 35.5 points. Take the under.
Because then that means either I misread Michigan's offense this whole year, or I've misread Iowa's defense this whole year.
Iowa's giving you 21.5 points. Take it. Just take it.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
even
a good
think
deal.
about it. I would bet on that. I would almost bet the house.
Largest spread of the weekend.
That's ridiculous. I don't see how that's a possibility. Iowa's defense is so good, and Michigan's offense has been good, but they never played an Iowa defense.
I mean, McCarthy, didn't he just throw 4 interceptions? Oh no, he's got 4 interceptions on the season. 19-4. That's all he's got.
Yeah,
19-4. He's not even done that much.
They played 2 ranked teams, though. I mean, let's be honest.
True.
They struggled to beat Penn State, and they didn't even throw in the second half against Penn State. Didn't throw a pass in the second half against Penn State, and they beat Ohio State. They only played 2 ranked teams all season, so it's not like their resume looks great. And Iowa is the best defense they're going to run up against all year. So
yeah, without a doubt, it might be the best defense anybody runs up against.
Right. So there's that. Anyway, that happened. Florida State still managed to win without their starting quarterback.
They were on to their 3rd string quarterback by the end of that game.
Yeah, and yet there they are, winning a football game, and
maybe they're better than I think they are.
24-15. It was a struggle, but they're unbeaten, 12-0. They're going to play Louisville in the ACC championship game.
Lowest spread of the weekend, by the way, went from highest to lowest.
Right. So Louisville also lost this weekend to Kentucky, but it was like the 3rd straight loss in that rivalry game. Kentucky's now 7-5. That doesn't help anybody's case in the ACC. Obviously, the second best team losing. Right. Florida State, I don't know how the Florida State-Louisville game will go down, but I feel like that's going to be a very, very interesting game. It's the last game of the night, by the way, on Saturday, 5 o'clock. Yeah. That'll be interesting to watch. I just don't know. So there's that game. And then you have Alabama beat Auburn, obviously, in the Iron Bowl. And that was tighter than it probably should have been for Alabama, but that game's always close, 27-24. So Alabama stays at number 8. And they're going to play Georgia in the SEC championship game. Meh.
Yep.
I don't give Auburn or Alabama a great chance to win that game. I don't feel like that's a thing. I feel like Georgia's going to hammer them.
This is the closest spread of the weekend, or not spread, but the closest prediction of the weekend. 52% favorite to win this game.
Yeah.
And they're still a 5.5 point favorite. But this is the game that nobody likes to make declarations about the SEC.
Right.
Nobody likes to be firm on it because you run the risk of being like looking really silly in front of one of the biggest audiences in the country. So, but I don't see a way that Alabama gets. They would need to play not only out of their minds, but Georgia would have to have a bad game. You need both of those things to happen,
right,
to win. Because Georgia, if they play a moderate to good game, if they put in a B- effort, they're still taking you 14 points.
Let's talk real quick about let's talk real quick about the rankings. So the college football playoff rankings came out on Tuesday. Georgia 1, Michigan, Washington at 3, Florida State at 4, Oregon's at 5. Ohio State,
Yeah.
Texas, Alabama. Obviously, Ohio State with the loss dropped 4, but Texas and Alabama stayed where they were, and that's very important to know. That they think Ohio State and Oregon are better than Texas and Alabama. People are going to argue that till they're blue in the face. Oregon
They're
has a
trying to.
chance to prove that they're better with a win over Washington. Texas doesn't have a chance to improve. Alabama does with a win over Georgia. So
if they go out there and put a 52-7 spanking on them,
lay down.
that's going to shock people's system about where they're ranked.
It's going to be weird. So Alabama
will be a problem.
Alabama has a chance to improve. Oregon has a chance to improve. Florida State does not. Washington really doesn't. I mean, a win over Oregon would be huge for Washington.
Right.
Michigan plays Iowa. I mean, honestly, if Washington came out and blew out Oregon and Michigan struggled with Iowa, I would not be surprised to be Washington 2. Next week. I mean, if that happens, I'm not. Hopefully that wasn't, but that won't happen. But Florida State doesn't have a chance to move up because they're playing 14 Louisville. So it's Oregon, Washington, winners in. It's Michigan, Iowa State, Michigan, Iowa. If Michigan wins, they're in. Georgia, Alabama. I think the winner is in.
Yeah.
I hate to say that. Alabama's at 8, but I think the winner is in. I don't know if you can keep the SEC champion out. Texas plays,
and there is a precedent for having that game go the opposite of what's expected.
Right.
And keeping the other team, the team that lost, out.
So Texas,
there is a precedent for that.
Texas plays Oklahoma State. That can only hurt them. I mean, they can win and maintain, but they can't move up. Florida State plays the 14 Louisville. They can't move up. They can win and maintain, but they can't move up. So the winner of the Pac-12 is in. If Florida State wins, I feel like they're going to be in. It's hard to keep a 13-0 ACC champion out, right?
Yes.
Michigan wins, they're in. That's 3. Georgia wins, they're in. So those would be your 4 teams. If Washington beats Oregon, Washington beat that other team. But I think those 4 teams are what you're looking at. Ohio State, I don't think, because they don't play, I don't think they have a chance to prove anything. They can't really move up.
They're going to get jumped over by Texas if Texas goes out and handles business against OK State. They're going to get jumped over by Bama.
Just a 6.
I think if Bama is even close to Georgia.
Right. Well, if Bama ends up with 2 losses, they're going to finish further down. I mean, Missouri's got 2, Penn State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. They all have 2 losses. So they'll probably stay at 8 if they lose to Georgia.
So what we need is Iowa to put Michigan in a headlock, Oregon to beat Washington, and Louisville to upset Florida State.
To guarantee, I think Oregon's in with a win, regardless. I think that's a thing. If you also get Iowa beating Michigan or Louisville beating Florida State, either one of those makes it easier. But I think Oregon's in with a win, regardless.
I want to agree, and like 95% of my brain agrees. But there's that little portion where I'm like,
we've seen it, right?
They're gonna jump us. I know it,
right?
But no, Oregon's never been in this position though. We've always come to the end and either lost that game,
right,
or gotten knocked out before this period.
We've never lost the Pac-12 championship game when it meant a college football playoff spot,
which was we've been to 2.
We haven't called Pac-12 championship games. This is our
college football playoffs.
Oh, 2, yeah.
We've been to 2, yeah.
We've never lost one of those games when it meant a spot in the playoff.
Yeah.
This is how that works. This is a spot in the playoffs if you win. And I think
I can't knock on wood harder at that statement.
Absolutely.
We've never lost a game.
But they have lost Pac-12 championship game, I think.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me just look. Because I feel when I say it, it doesn't sound right.
We've lost. Well, we've only lost 1 Pac-12 championship game.
I don't know. I'm looking at the Pac. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I feel like that's not true. I feel like we haven't lost a Pac-12 championship game.
Either we haven't played for it or we haven't lost it. Like that's the way you're thinking about it.
Right.
I'm looking here since 2011. Well, that doesn't say.
Oregon has never lost a Pac-12 championship game.
Wow.
UCLA in 2011.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Arizona in 2014. Utah in 2019. USC in 2020. They've never lost a Pac-12 championship game.
Not one.
Not one. So there's that. So that being said, there's always a first time for everything, right? Oregon, Oregon is 4-1. Wait, 4-1. Where'd they lose? They didn't lose.
You didn't lose.
Why are you saying that? Results by team 4-1.
Uh-oh.
2021. Oh, they did. They did lose to Utah in 2021. Yeah, they got blown out.
Okay.
It's just a weird way they have it put on here. They have the scores weird on here. That's weird. Okay, I don't know why they put it that way. But yeah, they lost in 21. So they're 4-1 in Pac-12
I remember this game.
Yeah, right? So that was when Oregon got blown out twice by Utah.
Yeah, we got beat by Utah twice this year. Smoked by them both times, I think.
Yeah, same thing USC did last year.
Jeez. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right.
What is it with Utah? Just working people.
Utah, Kyle Whittingham might be the best coach in college football. He does more with less.
He's consistent as hell, and he's got a pipeline to Polynesian players that is unmatched, and he produces defensive coordinators that go on to big schools at a high rate.
So Oregon has won 4 Pac-12 championships, the most. Stanford has won 3. Washington and Utah have won 2. USC has won 1.
The glory days of Stanford, those are long gone.
Yeah, Stanford won 3 out of 4, by the way.
Did they really? So they're 3-1.
12, 13, and 15. They were But Oregon.
That's the year Chip left.
Yeah.
Chip left after 11 and took right over.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I feel like Oregon's the better football team over Washington. They have to go out and prove it. I mean, they do.
Yeah.
I think that clearly what they've shown over the last 5-6 weeks has been amazing. But you got to beat the team that beat you. If you don't, you're not getting in. So there's that.
Well, hopefully they're motivating them the same way that they motivated them for the Oregon State game. I don't know if you knew this. Oregon puts out a hype video every week for the game.
Yeah.
And the beginning of the hype video for the Oregon State game they put out a recap video that recaps the week leading up to and the game. They had the Oregon State versus Oregon game from last year.
Yeah.
On all TVs throughout the facility all week.
Little motivation.
That's the only thing that was played.
Yep.
On all those TVs.
How you lost.
Hopefully they're showing the Washington game all week. And they're saying, and just let it sink in for a full week how much you don't want to make those same mistakes.
So here's the schedule for this weekend, by the way. Championship weekend, Friday, December 1st. Conference USA Championship starts at 4 on the CBS Sports Network. That's New Mexico State at Liberty. Who you got?
That's gonna be a barn burner, by the way.
Who you got?
We'll go with Liberty. They're ranked.
Playing at home.
They're 12-0, undefeated season.
Right. The Pac-12 championship obviously is Friday. Oregon, Washington in Las Vegas, 5 p.m. on ABC. Who you got?
Well, I gotta go Ducks, baby.
Yeah, we're going Ducks. Saturday, December 2nd, my anniversary, by the way. The Big 12 championship, Oklahoma State, number 18, and number 7, Texas. 9 a.m. It's 9 a.m. on ABC. Early game. I'm going with Texas.
I'm also going to go with Texas, yes.
But they play in Kansas City, by the way.
No, they don't. They play at Arlington.
Oh, is it Arlington?
Stadium. Oh, yeah, AT&T. They're playing at Cowboy Stadium.
They used to play in Kansas City.
I do remember this, but it says this might be wrong. That's fair, but it says on ESPN's page, it says Arlington, Texas.
It could be. It's probably right then. Yeah, that's right.
But regardless, whether it's in Kansas or whether it's in Texas, I'm going to take Texas. But I'm not going to take this 15.5 points that they're trying to lie to me about. I'm going to take Texas by under 7.
2 games at 1:00 on Saturday. The American Athletic Championship, SMU 10-2 versus it's at Tulane, so they're playing at Tulane, 11-1. It's at 1:00 on ABC. I'll take Tulane.
I'll take Tulane. It's in New Orleans, yeah, right? Exactly. They're only a 3.5 point favorite, but
I think Tulane's a really good football team. That head coach needs to be somewhere else. That Tulane shouldn't be that good.
But if you're smart, the problem is these guys all have motivations, right? And that's if you're not motivated for anything, what are you doing?
Right.
And so like being great at Tulane, this guy's gonna want to be great somewhere else.
Right.
But like if you can manage to sustain this level of success towards the end of your career, dude, just ride it out. That's a good deal.
The SEC championship is Georgia, number 1, versus number 8 Alabama. 1 p.m. CBS in Atlanta, which is a home game for Georgia because it's like 30 miles from Athens. So, I'm going to take Georgia. I think Georgia with a healthy McConkey and Bowers, they're better than Alabama. Yeah.
I got Georgia. I got them with a 2-score win, so plus 7.5.
Later in the evening, Big 12, the Big 10 championship, number 17 Iowa, number 2 Michigan, 5 p.m. on Fox. I'm Michigan's the better team completely. Iowa's the better defense. I don't know how Iowa's offense is going to score against Michigan's defense. I don't know that. But I feel like this is a 17-10 game, a 17-14 game, somewhere in that ballpark. I don't think that Michigan's a 20-point favorite.
No, I think that's preposterous.
Yeah, this is going to be a close game.
That's Michigan fans driving up the betting line in Las Vegas, just happy about
Eating it up, yeah, right.
Eating it up, like all these idiots out there are going to take him.
And at 5 o'clock, also on ABC, is the ACC championship game, number 14, Louisville, 10-2, Florida State, 12-0. This is a toss-up, in my opinion. I would say that Florida State's probably a 3-point favorite.
Right.
But I think it's going to be a toss-up. Louisville's a really good football team. I don't know who's going to win this game. I'm rooting for Louisville for chaos because I like chaos. But that's about it.
Yeah, I think Louisville will win because I think that Florida State is having an exhaustive end of their season, trying to like fall across the finish line. Right. Bottom line is this: even if Florida State wins and they make it to the College Football Playoff, whoever they play is going to demolish them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. And so that's like, I feel this like that Notre Dame team that went undefeated and they were kind of falling across the finish line at the end and they got to the playoffs and they just got smoked. Same deal. No. Not the year they went to the title, but the year they just fell into it.
Oh, right.
I think it was like 2 years ago, something like that. But yeah, same kind of deal here. I don't see Florida State, even if they win, being competitive. They're just going to take up space from somebody who deserves it more. But with that in mind, I think this might be the one where they stumble. So I think Louisville takes this game.
So Oregon's going to lose Bo Nix at the end of this year. Quarterback, they're going to need a quarterback. Ty Thompson is a great backup quarterback. Is he a starter?
Yeah.
That's the question, right?
He's not.
There are quarterbacks in the transfer portal already. Riley Leonard, by the way, from Duke, has just announced that he's in the transfer portal.
Don't want him.
Okay. So there's that. I mean, 2,700 yards. He also ran for 700 yards.
Don't want him.
Okay. So you also have Will Howard of Kansas State.
I'll take him.
Okay. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know that he's good enough to be the guy. Tyler Shook. Can he get... So Shook played in the 2020 season for Oregon also, but he's in the transfer portal again.
He's a tough read because he is good
if he's healthy.
But I don't want him.
If he's healthy, he's good.
We're not moving backwards here. We're moving forward. We don't want him.
Grayson McCall is another one from Carolina, Coastal Carolina. Grayson McCall is 2,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in the 2022 season when they went 9-4.
Right.
He's set the NCAA mark for passer efficiency at 207.6 in 21, and he beat out Mac Jones and Joe Burrow. Right. Now it's lower caliber. I get it. But still, he's a freaking amazing passing quarterback, and it might not be a bad fit for Oregon. Just FYI.
He might be a guy if he wants to come to compete, not for a starting job. You bring him in and you see if you can use him either to push rookies or to excel.
Tyler Van Dyke, also available from Miami. And I don't know. They were up and down. It's hard to say. I'm not sure that he's a great quarterback. I don't know. Will Rogers,
Not in there.
Mississippi
Nah.
State.
Well, actually, I don't mind Will Rogers. He
Yeah.
seems to make good decisions. If they just there are guys you can watch sometimes. You can say like this guy wants to do more than his offense is allowing him.
Right. And he was
Like
injured.
he's waiting to burst out. I feel like this is another one of those guys.
He was injured this year, so it's hard to say. But clearly, they're going to need a quarterback. It's either Ty Thompson or they're going to send somebody in from the portal. So
Right.
hard to say. We're on to the Stave & Stone trivia question. Are you ready for what I have? I know you've got one.
Yep.
Let's do mine first.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Said it.
So, Stave & Stone trivia question for the Best Lamb Sports Show. Who was the last Heisman Trophy winner to not get drafted in the NFL?
Huh.
That's your Stave & Stone trivia
To
question.
not get drafted.
Right. Heisman Trophy winners usually get drafted. However, 15 Heisman Trophy winners have not been drafted. That's your clue, I guess. I don't know. It's not really a clue. But this is the last one. The last one to not get drafted in the NFL.
Last one to not get drafted in the NFL.
I know.
That
right?
is really difficult because
I know.
you start rolling back through them and
Right. They're all good, right?
Bryce Young drafted, Devontae Smith drafted, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray,
Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston,
Baker,
Baker
Lamar,
Mayfield. Yeah.
Derek,
Right?
Jameis.
It's
Johnny
hard.
Manziel.
You can almost name off the top of your head the last 10, right?
I am picturing
And then-
NCAA football covers,
Right.
And that's how I'm picking.
You
I'm like,
just can't.
2011, Robert Griffin. 2010, Cam Newton.
You're picking them all. Who was the last one?
Bradford.
You want a clue?
Did Tebow do it twice? No. Yes, please.
2003 winner. So it's been 20 years. Right? So now you're like, who the hell was that? Right? I know. Because I said the same thing. I was like, this is not what? Because,
Well, 04 was Leinart. I know that.
because I
And
was
so
sitting there.
I'm trying to think about who is still as
04
good.
was Leinart. Yeah, who was the runner? Who was one of the guys invited? He was also a finalist in 2004.
Oh,
but he won in
that.
2003.
I mean,
No, it doesn't help you, right?
the what does it say? The victors write history or something like that. Like I don't know the backups.
Right. Who finished second? You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have
just FYI.
no clue.
You ready?
Yeah.
Jason White of Oklahoma. He won.
Jason White.
He won the 2003 Heisman. He was a 2004 finalist for the Heisman, but he was not drafted in the NFL. Just FYI, he's the last Heisman Trophy winner to not be drafted. There you go.
I'm gonna look him up right now.
I know, right?
Your stats weren't even that great.
Well,
Let's talk about another 23-year-old, right? And see if everyone wants to crap on Bo Nix. His rating was all through the charts. 159.4.
It's pretty good.
Jiminy Crickets, 35-9.
Oh, he threw 40 touchdown passes, by the way, in 2004 when he was recovering from 2 knee surgeries.
No wonder he didn't get drafted. No one thought he.
Yeah,
would
that was the reason why he didn't get drafted, was because nobody
Yeah.
thought he was going to be anything because he had
Yeah, I see right here. It says we're reluctant to select him due to his history of knee injuries.
Yeah,
that's bad.
He had 2, one on each leg. But yeah,
What do we think he's doing now?
On 2 bad knees, he threw 40 touchdown passes in 2004. I'm just saying. So, I don't know. I think he's a offensive coordinator for somebody.
Oh, do we think you think he's still in the business?
Oh yeah, I think he's still doing football.
Interesting. I bet he's like a lawyer now or something. I don't know.
No.
Life after football. Oh wait, he owns and operates Jason White Companies, which owns a store a store device, name of the store, a OSU memorabilia store, and the Athlete's Foot shoe store. He also works as an insurance agent.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's done some things. Good for him.
Yeah. He won all of the awards in 2003. I mean, just everything you possibly win. So, I don't know.
Oh man, that's tough. All right, you ready for mine?
And then he played in the BCS National Championship game in 2004.
I saw that.
Yeah, lost to LSU 21-14. He played in the BCS National Championship game in 2005 and got crushed by USC 55-19. So,
those USC teams were historical.
He's back-to-back BCS National Championship game player. Not many people get a chance to do that. So,
Did I read it right that he won it in 2000?
Won what? No.
They won the BCS national championship.
Well, Oklahoma did, but he didn't.
He wasn't the quarterback, but he was on the team.
He was on the team, correct.
So he gets a ring.
I mean, but he played for 6 years, so yeah, there's that.
that is my favorite narrative about Bo Nix. Everyone's like, well, he's been playing for 10 years. It's
He
like
has.
you realize Jaden Daniels is 3 months younger.
I mean, he has. You're not wrong.
Like, it's not that
So,
crazy.
all right,
But yeah. All right. So mine
go.
is NFL related.
All
Only
right.
6 head coaches in history have been fired before finishing their first season.
What?
Who are the 6 coaches?
That can't be true.
Only 6. 3 of them have occurred in the last 3 years.
I feel like that can't be true.
That's your hint. Somebody just got fired recently, which is what prompts this question.
So fired before the end of the season.
Fired before the end of their first season.
Oh, first season.
First season.
Oh,
Yes,
that's what
not
you're
for
saying.
the end of the season. For the end
I
of
was
their
gonna
first
say-
season.
I was gonna say, because what you're saying was it felt like that.
Yeah,
There's no way.
that would have been ridiculous. Hired in the offseason, fired before the beginning of their the end of their first season.
Okay.
Only 6 total.
6 total. You want to know who they are? What's the question? You want to know all 6?
I want to know who they are. If you got them, 3 of them have occurred in the past 3 years.
I feel like okay, so this is gonna be tough. Who was an NFL head coach that wasn't successful right away? Pete Carroll.
Negative.
What?
Pete Carroll was not fired in his first year at the Seahawks.
Are you sure?
Yep.
But he's fired after his first year. You talking about
Pete,
during the first season?
during the before the end of their first year, they were fired.
Oh, good Lord.
There's only 6 people in history. One just happened yesterday.
Well, I mean that one's easy, but I'm not addressing that yet.
But that's the point of like the whole thing. That's why it started all was because this one person did and somebody posted this thing and I was like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, only 6 people in history fired before they finished their first season of coaching as a head coach.
So Frank Reich, obviously, right? That's the one you're talking about.
That's the one that just
In
happened.
Carolina.
That's the one that spawned. Yep. So now you're on to 2022.
Nathaniel Hackett.
That's correct. That's
Okay.
number 2021.
Yeah, okay. Simmer down. Urban Meyer.
That's correct.
I've got 3. That's where that gets really hard.
There's the 3 for 3. Now I'm going to jump you back to the next person. 2007.
Oh shit.
And if you want the team, I can give it to you.
2007. I
a
got
good
2.
one.
I got 2 options here.
Legendary coach.
I got 2 legendary coach. Like
Coach, not necessarily in the NFL. Legendary coach.
So I feel like that's Bobby Petrino.
That is Bobby Petrino. That nailed it.
By the way, the Arkansas Razorbacks are vetting him to be the offensive coordinator.
How are you going to vet this guy?
I don't know, right? You
It's
fired
the
him.
dumbest statement
You
I've ever
fired
heard.
him. You literally got rid of him because of his sexual abuse, or I don't even know what it was.
He was having an affair,
Right, with a staff.
with the head coach or one of the coaches for the women's basketball team or volleyball team,
That makes it
and
better.
they were married to a staffer of his.
Jesus Christ! And now
Like,
you're going to
it's
put him back in
chaos.
as offensive coordinator.
Like,
No,
you vetted him years ago when you said we're firing you.
no, this is garbage.
That was the
This is-
vetting.
but now he's back because they're gonna yeah. Well, I mean, what he did was bad, but we like to win.
It's
Oh my God!
and don't get me wrong, he's a great coach. I think
All
we
right.
all agree on that.
What
But
else?
the
you got?
hell?
Who else?
All right,
give me
next-
another year.
The next year, 1978.
Oh shit! I don't know.
I'll give you the team. It's the 49ers.
No, I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know.
Pete McCulley.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
And then the first person that it ever happened to was the coach of the New York Jets in 1976. He was hot. He was fresh. And
I know.
everyone was very
I know
excited.
this one.
Who is this?
This is Lou Holtz.
That is Lou Holtz.
Lou Holtz was he came out of Arkansas. He
5
was
of 6 is not bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but Pete McCulley. What? Who?
But that's what they were. So that's what I was reading was this article. It was saying like it's this has only happened 3 times since the birth of the NFL, and now it's happened 3 times since 2021.
That's crazy. Well, I mean, it's getting more and more. You've got to do today. You have to win today. You know
But
what I
see,
mean?
like if you were to convince me firing Urban Meyer, fine. All right, he's got some crazy stuff going on. He's groping girls in bars. Like,
right?
There's
Video.
there's some stuff happening. Whatever. All right, and that's not his first scandal. It's one of many.
Right.
Nathaniel Hackett. The team looked like dog shit.
Yeah, they did.
And they have all of the talent necessary to be successful. So what's the excuse? It seems a little impatient, but okay, fine, whatever. Well, I mean, as soon as he handed off offensive play calling duties and they immediately got better, you kind of realized this might not be the guy for us. That's fine. Frank Reich, however,
right,
you were the worst team in the league last year,
right,
and you're still the worst.
Right.
Although you have, I'm confused about this one because this guy has done nothing. The only thing I can think is that they're using this time to go. There's a coach coming available that we want.
They haven't given him a chance really to get the team better,
and they haven't been that bad. I mean, the division is terrible, but like. You're looking at the talent on that team, and you're thinking, okay, you'd be lucky to win 5 games. You looked at the talent on the Broncos last year, and you were thinking they were, division contenders.
It's just how the things are anymore. You know what I mean? You have to win now. You can't wait.
But that's my point though, is that it's not quite that dramatic. Like you have to either become a media pariah like Urban Meyer. You have to be an absolute statistical nightmare like Nathaniel Hackett. But that's where Frank Reich doesn't fit in.
He doesn't. But okay. So here's my question: where does Deion Sanders fit in all this? Because he's gonna be an NFL head coach. He's gonna leave.
Is ESPN paying you to say that? Let's talk about Deion Sanders.
Not yet. I haven't got paid a penny from ESPN, but I'm just saying Deion Sanders is gonna be an NFL head coach, right?
No. No.
What? No.
Deion Sanders will never be an NFL head coach.
I don't think that's true.
You know why?
Why?
It's because he doesn't call any plays. Deion Sanders does not draw up plays. He doesn't call plays. He doesn't run an offense. He hires people to do that for him. And those people will get the job.
But somebody will pay him GM is going to pay him a fortune to be the head coach. Some GM is going to say, you can do what you want. You have carte blanche because we fired Frank Reich, and we're the last team in the league 2 seasons in a row. We have to get somebody in here.
So that would be an interesting thing. Deion Sanders leaves Colorado after 1 year, goes to Carolina to be the coach, and immediately drafts his son Shadur.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
But they just drafted Bryce Young.
It doesn't matter. Bryce Young's clearly meh.
I think we all saw that coming.
Yeah, we did.
I can't see a coach of sound mind.
I don't know.
Right? Because even think about the worst teams around the league right now, right? Like
Deion's of sound mind.
Well, no, but you have to convince. Sorry, I said a coach. But you have to convince an owner, a GM, to hire you, right? And at the end of the day, every bit of footage that I can pull up on doesn't show Deion doing anything but, quote, as he says, being a leader. Like that doesn't mean anything. That's more what's it called? Millennial slang than even millennials use. Like you're telling me nothing. What did you do? Did you draw up some X's and O's? Did you master a fourth quarter comeback? Did you put together a defense that was solid? You didn't do any of these things.
Well,
you had a great son who's fantastically and athletically gifted, and he managed to do some good things with a very basic offense that was designed to create stats, but not wins.
Scott.
And that wasn't even what you did. That was what your coordinators did. The guy who just left to go to San Diego State.
So Scott Fitterer is the GM in Carolina, and David Tepper is the owner. I'm not saying, but I'm saying. So what do you got to lose if you're a team that's 2-14 or 2-15 or 1-16 or whatever the hell they are, and you finished last twice? What do you got to lose? The publicity from hiring Deion is going to outweigh.
There are 2 teams that would do it for publicity. Do you know who they are?
And it's not Carolina?
It's not Carolina.
So Atlanta?
Nope.
Oh, I would think Atlanta.
Well, no. Atlanta would be a good place for him because you'd sell some season tickets for a year, but you need to win. There are 2 teams out there that will say they want to win, but really just want to sell. What 2 teams are those?
I don't know. Who are you thinking?
Dallas Cowboys and the Raiders.
Cowboys won't fire. They're they're in the midst of
No.
a playoff push.
Jerry Jones
The
would
Raiders,
make a publicity hire.
the Raiders,
And Mark Davis would make a publicity hire.
Yeah, the Raiders maybe. But
Both of those teams would easily hire in Deion Sanders to come stand on the sideline and not coach, but lead.
Deion played for both the Niners, the Cowboys, and the Falcons. He played for all three.
Any of those well, the Falcons is the one he's known for the most. So the Falcons I would bring him into the organization for sure. Find a role for him. Call him motivational expert. I don't know. Like, there's a role for him for sure. But if Deion wants to do something right by his kids, he needs to accept the next tier college coaching job, Texas A&M, and then bring Shedeur in to be the quarterback of A&M.
Here's my question: is Texas A&M the next tier? Because Texas A&M has been. I get it. Yeah. You're going to say that, hey, they got all this recruiting, they got all this money, they got everything. Their coaches have not been successful.
Yeah. I mean, their coaches haven't been great.
So how are you going to guarantee that the next coach is going to be successful? You have everything in place for the coach to be successful, and none of the coaches have been successful. Texas A&M has not been in the college football playoff. Period. They have not been in the conversation for a BCS playoff.
But there are a lot of teams that have not been in the college football playoff period that you would still consider successful teams, right?
Well, like who? Name one.
I'm trying to think about all the teams that are constantly up there near the top, but are never quite at the top. You know what I'm saying?
There aren't many.
Yeah, there aren't many. There aren't many. I'll give you that one. There aren't many.
Yeah,
but
most of them have been in the conversation at least once, in the college football playoff conversation or the BCS conversation at least once, maybe twice. Texas A&M is never in that conversation. Never.
No, they really aren't.
Regardless of who the coach is. So Jimbo Fisher or whoever, doesn't matter. They're a second tier team, and every year they're ranked in the top 15. Oh, look at what they did! They got this recruiting, and they got this. They're going to play in the SEC, and they're going to win some football. They are not that football team. They are not going to win the SEC. They are never going to win the SEC.
It's true. They love to give them loads of credit.
They do. And every year they give them credit, and they start them out high. This is what the problem is, because everybody in the SEC, everybody later in the season goes, oh, well, they beat a ranked team. It's not a ranked team if they're shitty. They're not a ranked team. Texas A&M is not a ranked team. You should not rank them. They have never been good enough to be ranked.
Since 2000, I can see 2010 right here. Since 2010, they've had one double-digit win season.
Yeah.
A single double-digit win season. And that includes 2 years before leaving the Big 12. And their first year in the SEC, they kind of caught it by storm, little Johnny Manziel syndrome. But yeah, not great year in and year out, but still a recruiting ground,
I suppose.
And still you have so many resources. And if Deion's goal was to make his kids successful, then that's how you do it. You put them in front of cameras, because even if your team is bad, you still play Alabama. Your game's on TV. You still play Georgia. Your game's on TV. So if you can do decent in those games, you can help your kids, quote unquote.
Well, and I'm okay with that. I get that. I mean, that's what you got to do. But I mean, I think Texas A&M football is so bad. I think it's been bad. I think
it's definitely not what it should be. But hey, that's where a new coach, right? You know, maybe.
Maybe.
But that doesn't mean you stop trying, right? Just because you haven't been able to find that level of success doesn't mean you stop the hiring process and say, oh, well, we're just going to be a mediocre school instead. Like, no, you keep firing and hiring and firing and hiring. But the problem is they hired Kevin Sumlin, and I didn't like that hire to begin with. And then they hired Jimbo Fisher, and I like that even less.
Right.
Like, they keep hiring people that I'm just not, like, so sure about, you know?
So Texas A&M's best record over the last, hold on, I'm getting back there, 2016, 2015.
Yeah, you got to go back a ways.
You do.
1999, 98, and then they had this little stretch there, 94 down through 91.
So their best record since 2012.
Yeah.
In 2012, they lost 2 games.
That's right.
They finished, 11.
That was Johnny Manziel's Heisman year.
Right. So since 2012, their best record was 2020 in the COVID year. They lost
Yeah.
one game, but it was like 6-1.
Right.
But other than that, they've lost at least 3, if not 4, games every single year. So this is 2012. I'm looking at. They beat Florida, a ranked Florida team, 20-7. No, they lost 20-17. They beat Louisiana Tech 59-57.
Right.
They lost to LSU 24-17. They did beat Mississippi State and Alabama back to back, and yes, that was Johnny Manziel, right? So, and they beat Oklahoma in a playoff game or in a Cotton Bowl. That was the best year. After that, it's all downhill. I mean, 3-4 losses, right? And they lose to every ranked team that they played. I mean, that happened in 2013. They lost to every ranked team that they played except Duke in a bowl game. 2014, they beat South Carolina and then lost to just about every other ranked team. It's hard. Texas A&M, every year, you and I say this every year. We watch, and Texas A&M is 15 to 20, somewhere in that ballpark every year.
Yeah, they don't want to put them too high, but they want to put them on there.
And we say this every year. They're overrated. They're just overrated. They're going to lose.
We've been doing this podcast now since 2020, right?
Almost
3 years.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, we can go back and listen to preseason of each year of each of those 3 years and be like, see, here's us saying, why is Texas A&M here?
Right.
It's the one school. Like, they put a lot of teams in those top 25s that you're like, Texas A&M, Texas A&M and Texas are the two consistent ones that get ranked high when you go, why?
Here's the example of Texas A&M. In 2016, right? They were 6-0 with wins over number 16 UCLA, number 17 Arkansas, number 9 Tennessee in double overtime.
Some would say they're big time.
And then they played Alabama at Alabama, lost 33-14. Beat New Mexico State, okay. Lost to Mississippi State, lost to Ole Miss. They beat Texas San Antonio. They lost to LSU. And then they lost to Kansas State in a bowl game. They lost 5 games that year after beating 3 ranked teams in their first 6 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Texas A&M in a nutshell. They're good enough, and then they're not.
But to me, I look through their win-losses. I see, like, starting from last year, 5-7, 8-4, 9-1, 8-5. I'm looking through these, and I immediately go, well, there should be another loss in there if they didn't play an extra cupcake.
Well, that's true.
Every single year. So this 5-7 season should be a 4-8. This 8-4 season is probably more like a 7-5. Like, I say that all the time because it's 4 non-conference games is not a problem. 3 cupcakes and a 1 moderately tough one.
Moderately. Yeah.
Is not okay.
Right.
And the league needs to penalize for that. The league needs to look at Alabama and go, well, the Citadel and the Raging Cajuns don't count. They don't count towards your win total that we count. You need to play a team that's ranked over 50th in last year's rankings for it to count. Something like that. And then you'd actually have a pretty accurate assessment of schools when you did that. Because then you'd see like, hey, you beat Kentucky and you beat Vanderbilt and you beat the Citadel and you beat the Raging Cajuns. There's 4 of your wins.
Right.
And none of them were above 5. Well, I mean, Kentucky's been good, but the general rule was that none of them were above 500. And it's like, now we can look at the rest of your teams that you've played and then base it on that. But yeah, A&M every year has that syndrome. They give them a ranking and then they just shit the bed.
This year's the example. They're 7-5. They didn't beat a single ranked team on their schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
were they close with anyone?
They lost to Alabama 26-20. They lost to Tennessee 2013. They lost to Ole Miss 38-35. And they got beat by LSU 42-30. So 3 of the games they played against ranked teams, they were close. But they couldn't win. It's just that way.
That I remember watching that Ole Miss game. They needed to win that.
And they blow out other teams, right? So great, but they also lost to Miami this year. So
handled New Mexico, blew out Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah.
Handled Abilene Christian.
Sure.
See, there's your
State,
3 cupcakes.
Yeah. So they're going to make enough games to get a bowl game, but they're not good enough to make a playoff. They're not good enough to be even the conversation for the playoff.
What am I? Oh, Miami. Miami's the other team. I'm sitting here like, what am I reading wrong about their 4 non-conference? And that's because I was forgetting Miami. They played 3 cupcakes in Miami and went 3-1. What are the odds?
Right.
That's the team you are. is bad against good teams and good against bad teams.
Right. And this is the team that in 2021 was 8-4. They beat Arkansas, or I'm sorry, they beat Alabama.
Coach Prime could change that.
They beat Alabama. They beat Auburn, right?
Yep.
But they lost to Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State, Arkansas. They lost to some teams they shouldn't have lost to. In close games, they were all for the most part close, but that's Texas A&M. They're close, but not.
But Coach Prime could change it.
Right. Yeah,
I don't. I think Coach Prime lures hires that are impressive.
Right.
But I think that he himself is actually not the impressive hire. It's his influence that is impressive.
And the classic year is Kellen Mond, 2019 for Texas A&M. If you want to look at a classic Texas A&M schedule.
Oh, he was good, but didn't he transfer there from somewhere else?
I don't know. But Kellen Mond was the quarterback in 2019. They lost 5 games that year. Okay? Number 1, Clemson. Number 8, Auburn. Number 1, Alabama. Number 4, Georgia. And number 2, LSU. The only 5 teams they played that were ranked, they lost every single game. That's Texas A&M. They can't beat a ranked team. So why even rank them? But yet there they were being ranked at the end. I'm sorry, they beat Oklahoma State in the Academy Sports Plus Outdoors Texas Bowl.
Hold on.
Right.
Who was that one Texas A&M quarterback who was supposed to be the future, like the absolute stud? I'm trying to think about who it was.
I don't think I have
one. Kellen Mond. It's the guy that Kellen Mond replaced. I'm looking it up right now. I'm trying to find it. Kenny Hill. Kenny Trill is what they called him all the time. Sure. He threw for 500 yards against South Carolina in his debut after they benched Johnny Manziel, and he got the nickname Kenny Trill. And then he went on and transferred to TCU by the mid next year because he was not good.
No, because they lost games to ranked teams too. Yeah. It's funny. Texas A&M is just not that good. All right, we got to go. I mean, we've been out here.
It's our longest show to date. We were going for the record.
We were, and we got it. So
the problem was the Draymond conversation.
Well, I don't know if that was the Draymond. We talked about a lot of things, a lot more than we should.
We really did cover, and we covered a lot of games. Yeah,
but we'll talk about a little bit less because there's only like 6 college football games next week. So
that's true. A lot less to talk about.
We'll talk about the NFL playoff picture. We'll talk about. Right? There's the right. Is that the right level? I don't even know if it's right.
That sounds good to me.
We'll talk about a lot of stuff next week, but we'll talk about we can talk about the NHL. We talk about Major League Soccer, who's entering the finals, I think. We can talk about a lot of things next week. We have opening because college football is small,
right?
Next week, and then starts the bowl season, which is like a bowl game every damn day, or 2. But anyway, we'll talk about all that. We can talk about the college football playoff, the final college football playoff rankings when we talk about next Wednesday. They will already be out, so we will know who the 4 teams are at the college football playoff. Right. It's going to be great. We'll talk about what else we're going to talk about. I don't know. That's about it.
I don't know.
Hopefully
another Broncos win. Fingers crossed.
Another Broncos win. We might talk about that.
Jeez, that'd be nice.
Right. So anyway, this has been a production of Lonely Tree Media, a division of this has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore, and I own the company.
You're killing it.
I own the company.
Yeah, you could change the name.
I could, but I'm not going to. So anyway, Brain Rock production, division of Lonely Tree Media. We want to thank ESPN, college football, just the NCAA, the NFL, the NBA, TNT. And CBS Sports, NBC Sports, ABC Sports, Fox Sports. This is, like I said, we'll talk about it next week. Lots more coming. Everything will be decided next week, and we'll have the college football playoff. We'll put our predictions on the line next week. Sound good?
Absolutely.
All right. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you for listening.